Chapter 378. The attacks of the flame devils had been growing fiercer and fiercer in recent years. This time, it had even reached its peak in recent years. The defensive line that the human martial practitioners had previously constructed in the Outer East Sea was currently showing signs of collapsing. If they did not deal with it well, the Eight Extremities world would suffer massive losses. At this time, the experts of the human race needed to temporarily set aside their internal conflicts, joining hands to deal with the threat and stand against the common enemy of the Eight Extremities world. At the very least, he had to withstand this wave of attacks first. The painting saint, Old Man Mo, had displayed great power. No matter how one looked at it, it was something to be excited about. In the current Eight Extremities world, other than the painting Saint Old Man Mo, the peak combat power was the old chief Yang Chengshan, the heaven-equaling Saint Yuan Zhengfeng, combined with the clear Qi robe, as well as the old chief of the Sacred Sun clan, the east-coming martial Saint Huang Guanglia. Hearing that a flame devil king equivalent to a human second-level martial saint had entered the Eight Extremities world in the chaos this time, Yan Zhaoge had first considered the current situation of his grandmaster and the Sacred Sun clan's Huang Guanglia. After hearing Yan Zhaoge's question, that Jade Sea City martial practitioner answered, "According to the news we received earlier, your clan's senior heaven-equaling saint and the Sacred Sun clan's Huang Guanglia are already hurrying over to the East Sea." Yan Zhaoge nodded, continuing to ask, "Infinite Boundless Mountain's sacred artifact, the heaven-cleaving axe, and the Lord of the Heavenly Thunder Hall, Shunli?" The Jade Sea City martial practitioner before him said, "Infinite Boundless Mountain's Chief Chu and the heaven-cleaving axe are currently on the way here. News from the Heavenly Thunder Hall is that their Hall Lord Shin Li has already entered the North Sea and will be arriving at the East Sea very soon." Most of the current peak experts of the Eight Extremities world had already begun congregating in the East Sea. However, the expressions on the faces of Yan Zhaoge and the Jade Sea City martial practitioner before him did not seem relaxed at all. That Jade Sea City martial practitioner's gaze was filled with unconcealable anxiety. The news he had obtained was that Jade Sea City's Lord Song Wuliang had still yet to leave seclusion, while the Flame Devils were still unceasingly attacking Jade Sea City. On the other hand, the line of defense formed by the human martial arts experts on the Outer East Sea was also under immense pressure. Under the fierce attacks of the Flame Demons, they fought and retreated and were about to retreat into the Inner Sea. As the border between the Inner East Sea and the Outer East Sea, Long Ocean City was also threatened. With the flame demons closing in, Changing City will most likely become the main battlefield. As Yan Zhaoge pondered, he said to the Jade Sea City martial practitioner before him, "We have to make our preparations here and be more careful." The other party had a worried expression. There are already many flame demons with the strength of a great grandmaster who have infiltrated here. We are also making arrangements to evacuate ordinary civilians. Yan Zhaoge nodded slightly. That's good. After taking their leave of the Jade Sea City martial practitioners, Ahu asked with a bitter expression, "Young master, what do we do now?" Yan Zhaoge pondered for a moment before saying, "The situation over at Huang Guanglia's side cannot be controlled. Let's not worry about it for now. Let's think of a way to give Grand Master a signal. Grand Master is coming from the mainland, passing through the Inner East Sea. It would be best if he could get rid of these two Flame Devil Kings in the Inner East Sea along the way." Ahu opened his mouth. Of those two Flame Devil Kings, the one attacking Jade Sea City is still easy to deal with. If they do not retreat in time, they will most likely be intercepted by the old chief. However, the one who was led around in circles by young master earlier, while looking like he was determined to obtain it, when faced with the old chief and the clear Qi robe, he might flee upon hearing the news. Yan Zhaoge said as he walked, "Therefore, we cannot give him a chance to calm down. We have to continue teasing him, leaving him in an enraged yet irrational state. With the personality of the flame devils, when their fury has accumulated to a certain extent, even if they know that they are no match for their opponent, they might still go berserk and engage in a life and death battle. Especially now that I've angered him to such a state. If he runs into Grandmaster, and we share the same martial arts origin, it will only further agitate him. If he can't find me, he might as well fight Grandmaster and enjoy himself first. He won't care about the consequences. Yan Zhaoge let out a long breath. That flame devil king, being enraged, is exactly what I wanted. I'm not afraid of him being enraged. I'm just afraid of him calming down. At this point, Yan Zhaoge narrowed his eyes slightly into slits. While the flame devil king Cheng Huang possessed tyrannical strength and posed a great threat, he was still not the greatest threat in Yan Zhaoge's heart at this moment. What Yan Zhaoge was truly worried about was whether the flame devil experts of the Outer East Sea would once again conceal their tracks, stealthily sneaking over here. Normally speaking, having already suffered a loss once over at the Outer East Sea, and Qing Lin and the others would be careful and not give the flame devils a chance to take advantage of them. However, that was when the two sides had been evenly matched earlier, with the human martial practitioners even having the home advantage, holding the upper hand. The current situation was that the human martial practitioners of the Eight Extremities world were at a disadvantage over at the Outer East Sea, facing immense pressure. It was already not easy for them to protect themselves. Also having to prevent the other side from concealing their tracks and sneaking over once more, it would really be a little too much. Therefore, Yan Zhaoge still had the mind to deal with just the two flame devil kings, Cheng Huang and the others. Even if Jade Sea City's city lord Song Wuliang did not leave seclusion when Yuan Zhengfeng passed through here, the crisis of the Inner East Sea would naturally be resolved. However, if a flame devil king equivalent to a human second-level martial saint sneaked in, the situation would become complicated. Soundlessly entering the sea once more, avoiding the nearby flame devils, Yan Zhaoge's group left the region of sea governed by Long Ocean City, returning to Jade Sea City's region of sea. Using the same method, they found a bunch of flame devils in Jade Sea City's region of sea once more. After having been consecutively ambushed by Yan Zhaoge many times, and having slain a great number of flame devils amidst their rage and hatred, the flame devils also changed their strategy. With the great flame devil at their head, the other flame devils congregated in their surroundings, moving in unison. While the area they covered was smaller, the strength of each group of flame devils was stronger, not giving Yan Zhaoge any chance to take advantage of them. With the great flame devils guarding over them, it would be much more difficult for Yan Zhaoge to kill them. Not just that, as soon as he was entangled by these flame devils, the flame devil king Cheng Huang would arrive very quickly within a short period of time. Unable to enter the deep sea through the ice ball in time, he might be blocked by Cheng Huang. If the flame devils learn of the reason for his disappearance, it would be very difficult for him to escape afterwards. Therefore, after discovering the change in the strategy of the flame devils, Yan Zhaoge also changed his method. Not seeking to kill the flame devils, just appearing out of nowhere, disappearing in a flash. After flashing the ring of the flame devil emperor, Yan Zhaoge directly drew Heaven Shocker from far away, consecutively drawing it 3 times. 3 icy cold golden lights shot out, blocking the path of a great flame devil. Then, Yan Zhaoge immediately kept the ring, diving into the deep sea once more. Yan Zhaoge was currently imitating the roaming cavalry, not getting close to the flame devils at all, immediately retreating after a single strike from far away, not pausing in the slightest. The only great flame devil whose speed could pose a real threat to him was blocked by the devil-shattering ice talisman. Losing the initiative, Yan Zhaoge disappeared once more. After breaking away from the flame devils present, Yen Zhaoge took out the 9 ice shards, the ice ball enveloping him, Ahu and Pan Pan, once more sinking into the deep sea. However, this time there were no fluctuations of that flame devil King Cheng Huang's power emanating from behind. There was a flame devil causing great waves within the sea. It was also that great flame devil. Not only was Yen Zhaoge unable to feel happy about this, his brows were instead knit tightly together. To be continued. Chapter 379. Because he had gone to Long Ocean City once before, he could not confirm the exact location of the Flame Devil King Cheng Huang in the region of sea around Jade Sea City. Also wary of the enraged and embarrassed Cheng Huang immediately flipping out upon arriving, Yen Zhaoge had specially left more time for himself this time, lest he be blocked by Cheng Huang. However, after waiting for a long time, that Flame Devil King still did not appear. This situation, which was completely different from before, instantly caused Yen Zhaoge's heart to sink slightly, who was also baffled. Young master, could it be that when the old chief arrived, that Flame Devil King just happened to run into him, being taken care of by the old chief? Yen Zhaoge's brows were knit tightly. If that is the case, it would naturally be for the best. However, it is also possible that that Flame Devil King has returned to attack Jade Sea City. Ahu scratched his big head. While the Flame Devils are violent and easily angered, they are not completely brainless. If Jade Sea City has still not fallen, with so much time having passed, even if Pavilion Lord and the others are unable to return to reinforce us in the outer East Sea, the other experts of the 8 Extremities world should have already arrived to reinforce us. Still daring to run over to Jade Sea City, is it that they are afraid that the old chief will not be able to stop them? Yen Zhaoge sighed. That is why it is said that when things are abnormal, there must be a reason behind it. Daring to return, they definitely have something to rely on. Whose expression changed. An even more powerful Flame Devil King has already arrived at the inner East Sea. Yen Zhaoge sat in the meditative position, his hands crossed before his chest. Right now, we still cannot be sure. However, we might have to take the risk of returning to East Dragon Island, where Jade Sea City is. Even if we do not ascend the island, we will still have to observe the surroundings for a while before we can know the specific situation. Young master, in returning this time, would we be sending lambs into a tiger's den? Who swallowed his saliva with some difficulty. If the other side really has an even more powerful expert sneaking over this time, it might just be for that dark red ring. Yen Zhaoge looked at the deep sea outside through the ice ball that enveloped him. It is very hard to say. With the temperament of the Flame Devils, the possibility is not high. It is possible that the other Flame Devils reported it to that Flame Devil King, who had been chasing us all this while earlier. However, it is basically impossible for that Flame Devil King to seek reinforcements from even more powerful experts just because he is unable to catch us. While he is weaker than the other side, he is still a Flame Devil King. He would not possibly lower his head and show weakness so easily. Ahu asked, could it be that the other Flame Devils leaked the news? Yen Zhaoge answered, that is also possible. Of the Flame Devils who entered the inner East Sea before this, other than the subordinates of that Flame Devil King pursuing us, there should also be a portion of them belonging to the forces commanded by that Flame Devil King, who remained in Jade Sea City. It is possible that they have sent news. At this point, Yen Zhaoge suddenly could not help but laugh when I went to the extreme northern snowy plains to handle some matters last time. While the final outcome was still rather satisfactory, the process really wasn't smooth. I was always faked by others. I've always felt that my luck is really bad. My luck is pretty good this time. Yen Zhaoge shook his head. Having gone to Long Ocean Island, I might have just managed to avoid danger. If a Flame Devil King equivalent to the second level of the Marshal Saint realm really came to the region of sea around Jade Sea City, and Yan Zhaoge popped up at that time, he might just happen to bump into the other party's spear. Such a flame devil king was above Cheng Huang in both speed and strength. If Yan Zhaoge still used his previous experience to calculate the time, he might miscalculate and be cut off by the other party. As he said this, the smile on Yan Zhaoge's face gradually vanished. However, Jade Sea City is in even greater danger now. Yan Zhaoge temporarily left the region of sea around Jade Sea City, going to Long Ocean City. Unable to wait for him, the other party decided to first take care of Jade Sea City. After a long journey, as Yan Zhaoge traversed the Great Sea and neared the vicinity of East Dragon Island once more, he discovered that his guess had become reality. Rising to the surface of the sea, gazing into the distant horizon, he saw winds surging and clouds surging there. Yan Zhaoge closed his left eye, the purplish-green light of thunder flickering slightly within his right eye because it was too far away. Even with the help of the eye of the Thunder Emperor, Yan Zhaoge could only barely see some scenes. However, just these scenes alone were already sufficient to foresee the tragic situation of the battle there. Following beside Yan Zhaoge, Ahu asked curiously, "Young master, what's the situation now?" The collision of majestic forces emanating from the distance shocked the heavens and shook the earth. Even from such a great distance away, it still caused one's heart to palpitate, their very souls to tremble. Yan Zhaoge did not look sideways as he casually answered, "One good news, two bad news. The first bad news is that Jade Sea City's city lord, Song Wuliang, still looks like he has yet to leave seclusion." Hearing his words, Ahu drew back the corners of his lips, not speaking. Yan Zhaoge continued, "The second bad news is that a flame devil king equivalent to a second level martial saint has really arrived here, going on a rampage." Ahu swallowed his saliva, asking in a low voice, "Young master, if we turn and flee now, will we make it in time?" Yan Zhaoge shrugged. "The good news is that Grand Master has arrived." Hearing his words, Ahu was taken aback. Yan Zhaoge's right, I was still gazing into the distance. Luckily, Grand Master has brought the clear chi robe with him. Otherwise, Jade Sea City would already have been leveled to the ground. While he could not clearly see the specific scene, those streams of clear chi that were majestic as the heavens unceasingly dispelled the all-encompassing flowing fire, it was not hard for Yan Zhaoge to come to a conclusion. Broad Creed Mountain's old chief, the current Grand Elder, the heaven-equaling Saint Yuan Zhengfeng, had already arrived at Jade Sea City along with Broad Creed Mountain's sacred artifact, the clear chi robe. The two had engaged in a great battle in the air above East Dragon Island, the heavens shaking and the earth overturning. While the enemy was equivalent to a second-level martial saint, Yuan Zhengfeng had just stepped into the martial saint realm not long ago. However, Yuan Zhengfeng possessed great strength, also possessing the clear chi robe. Not only did he not fear his opponent in a one-on-one battle, he even held the upper hand. It was just that Cheng Huang and the other two flame devil kings who were equivalent to first-level martial saints still existed here, posing a huge threat. Yan Zhaoge's expression was solemn, while Jade Sea City's Jade Sea limitless grand formation still existed. Yuan Zhengfeng was not the controller of the grand formation at the end of the day, unable to borrow much power from it. Both sides could only fight their own battles. The Jade Sea limitless grand formation was like Broad Creed Mountain's clear chi grand formation, powerful and complex as well as profound. Even if Jade Sea City did not consider the future and completely handed over control of the grand formation to Yuan Zhengfeng would still be very hard-pressed to wield it freely within a short period of time, unleashing the power of the grand formation. Therefore, facing their encirclement, now, Yuan Zhengfeng could not borrow much of the geographical advantage, as he could only rely on himself. Under such circumstances, facing the encirclement of three flame devil kings, one of whom was equivalent to a second-level martial saint, even the combination of Yuan Zhengfeng and the clear chi robe would not be easy to deal with. Experts who were able to attain such a cultivation base were all extraordinary figures. When their cultivation bases had still been low in the past, facing ordinary opponents, who among them would not be able to take on several of them at once. Now that they had instead surrounded and attacked a single person, their attacks would naturally be ferocious to the extreme. Who looked carefully at Yen Zhaoge. "Young master, are we still using the old method? If we can draw away a flame devil king, things should be much easier for the old chief. Anyway, that strongest one will be tied down by the old chief. We won't have to worry about him chasing after us." Yen Zhaoge gazed at the distant horizon. "As long as that strongest one does not lose his cool, he will be able to stabilize the other two, not being lured away by us." Chapter 380. In the air above East Dragon Island in the distance, a tragic battle was currently underway. Looking at the surging winds and surging clouds, Yen Zhaoge was also unceasingly considering countermeasures. Who said rather vexedly by the side, "There's already a flame devil king equivalent to a second-level martial saint here. There definitely isn't just one over at the outer East Sea. Otherwise, the painting saint and the others would not be so exhausted in dealing with them. The painting saint is an expert of the older generation and cannot be counted. The second-level martial saint experts of the Eight Extremities world who have appeared in recent years are actually only the Sacred Sun clan's Huang Guanglia, who has just left seclusion. In comparison, the flame devils recover their vitality too quickly. In the successive battles that year, while many experts of the Eight Extremities world perished, the flame devils also suffered tragic casualties. Hearing Ahu's complaints, Yen Zhaoge casually answered, "That's very normal. Their innate talent is too great. With the essence of fire, their early cultivation speed is very fast. All along, at the martial grandmaster level, the flame devils have always been more numerous than us, and not just by a little bit. While whether it is us human martial practitioners breaking through into the martial saint realm or the flame devils breaking through into the flame devil king realm, the difficulty is extremely high. They are unable to overcome their numbers. At the same level of difficulty, the number of flame devil kings produced would naturally be more than the number of martial saints produced by us. This is still when the internal strife of the flame devils is severe. Otherwise, it would be even more exaggerated." Yen Zhaoge shrugged. "The flame devils have a huge flaw in their innate nature. They are irritable and easily angered, vicious, and warlike, very easily losing their rationality. However, the heavens have also compensated them for this." Who said rather painfully, "If there was a chance to exterminate those flame devils at the martial scholar and martial grandmaster level in great numbers, that would be great." Yen Zhaoge rolled his eyes. "If we could take the initiative to attack, who would be willing to passively take a beating? Sadly, if we were to counterattack in the flame devil world, that place is filled with the essence of fire and the chi of destruction. The home ground advantage of the flame devils is so great that it is shocking. Being a level higher is only a conservative estimate." Who also knew about this. Thinking of it, his painfully expression grew even more intense. Intense power fluctuations suddenly emanated from the distance, resembling a violent earthquake at the bottom of the sea. Gazing far into the distance, Yen Zhaoge saw a terrifying tsunami that blotted out the heavens and covered the earth as it surged over from East Dragon Island. The crazily surging waves extended for such a long distance, yet they still did not lose their momentum. It was extremely terrifying. The Inner East Sea was divided into 4 regions of sea, namely Jade Sea City, Long Ocean City, and the others. At this moment, this terrifying tsunami affected the entire region of sea around Jade Sea City, even extending towards the surrounding Long Ocean City and other regions of sea. Yen Zhaoge, Ahu and Pan Pan evaded the tsunami together, still gazing in the direction of East Dragon Island as he muttered to himself, "The Jade Sea Limitless Grand Formation is about to break." He shook his head. Jade Sea City's Guardian Grand Formation is not of the same body as Grand Master at the end of the day, only able to fight for itself. If those Flame Devil Kings are unable to do anything to Grand Master, turning to attack the Jade Sea Limitless Grand Formation, instead, it would be hard for Grand Master to save him. Ahu's face was full of worry. What I'm afraid of is that they purposely left the Great Azure Sea Limitless Formation, which has already become weak, to draw the old sect master's attention. The Flame Devil King stared at the Jade Sea Limitless Grand Formation. If Yuan Zhengfeng wanted to protect the Grand Formation, he would undoubtedly lose the initiative. One side wanted to destroy, while the other side wanted to protect. The one who destroyed would undoubtedly have the upper hand. If the protector focused wholeheartedly on protecting, it was very likely that he himself would reveal a flaw which would instead be exploited by the enemy. Yen Zhaoge said, "The Flame Devils will definitely do so. Even if they have lost their rationality, their combat instincts will also urge them to choose a fighting method that is beneficial to them." However, there is no need to worry about Grand Master in this regard. Grand Master is a veteran of the world, rich in experience, knowing how to deal with it. Even if he wants to protect Jade Sea City, he should first ensure that he does not reveal a flaw. If Yuan Zhengfeng himself revealed a flaw, he would lose everything. Yen Zhaoge gazed at East Dragon Island. The key is that Jade Sea City's city lord, Song Wuliang, has still yet to emerge from seclusion. He pondered for a moment before swiveling his head to look at Ahu and Pan Pan, saying, "The two of you leave the region of Sea of Jade Sea City. Long Ocean City is similarly showing signs of becoming the main battlefield. Don't go there. Go somewhere else." Ahu's hairs stood on end. "Young Master, you aren't thinking of returning to East Dragon Island, right?" Yen Zhaoge nodded. "That's right. I intend to go back and take a look. For Jade Sea City's crisis to be resolved, that is where it lies." Ahu said rather anxiously, "Young Master, a great battle between martial saint experts is currently taking place there. How will you approach it, The purplish-green light of thunder flickered within Yen Zhaoge's right eye as he turned to look towards the east where Long Ocean City was located. "Get another martial saint expert to bring me over." Looking over there now, Ahu saw the clouds billowing and dispersing within the horizon as a cool breeze blew from the east to the west, speeding towards Jade Sea City. Amidst the illusory changes, numerous phenomena manifested as they were ever-changing. The cloud layer instantly arrived above the heads of Yen Zhaoge and the others, enveloping the surrounding heavens and earth. Turbid wave pavilions, Pavilion Lorden? Ahu realized. Yen Zhaoge said, "While Pavilion Lorden is injured, she is still a martial saint. At the very least, she should be able to bring me into Jade Sea City." He let out a long roar towards the heavens. The cloud layer up above did not halt, but a streak of white cloud chi descended, sweeping Yen Zhaoge along. "Leave this region of sea. We'll talk again when the situation has cleared up." Yen Zhaoge allowed the cloud chi to sweep him along as he instructed Ahu and Pan Pan at the same time. Ahu and Pan Pan both had worried expressions on their faces as they watched Yen Zhaoge disappear into the distance along with the cloud within the sky. Having arrived within the cloud layer, a rather tall, ordinary-looking middle-aged woman appeared before Yen Zhaoge. It was precisely the Pavilion Lord of Turbid Wave Pavilion, the roiling cloud martial saint in Qinglin. While Qinglin looked no different from how she usually was, she said quietly, with the heavenly Thunder Hall's Hall Lordshin having arrived at the outer East Sea to reinforce the battle over there. "This old woman being injured, in going to Jade Sea City this time, I can only do my best to help the heaven-equaling saint share his burden. You having specially appeared, do you have some unique method?" due to his successive achievements. Even in Qinglin, one of the current bigwigs of the Eight Extremities world, similarly viewed Yan Zhaoge in a different light. At the very least, she was willing to listen to Yan Zhaoge's opinion, rather than directly feeling that under the current circumstances, a spirit vessel martial grandmaster like Yan Zhaoge would be completely useless. Yan Zhaoge answered, "I have no way of directly interfering in the battle against the Flame Devil Kings. However, I would like to ask Pavilion Lorden to send me to East Dragon Island, to Jade Sea City. Perhaps there might be a way." And Qinglin did not waste her breath on words as she soared over the cloud, quickly arriving in the air above East Dragon Island. While she was still far away, the two sides had already sensed her arrival. Yuan Zhongfeng's spirits naturally rose, while the Flame Devils were also on guard. A Flame Devil King instantly appeared, wanting to obstruct Qinglin. However, Qinglin was not in a hurry to clash with it, the cloud layer descending rapidly, directly pressuring down onto the sea's surface. A white cloud chi instantly pierced through the deep sea, sending Yan Zhaoge shooting straight towards Jade Sea City. To be continued. Chapter 381. And Qinglin sent Yan Zhaoge into the depths of the sea with a stream of white cloud chi shooting towards Jade Sea City. As Yan Zhaoge entered the sea, even with the protection of Qinglin's cloud chi, he could still feel the scalding heat of the seawater as though it was being boiled at this moment. The Flame Devil who had come to obstruct Qinglin was precisely the Flame Devil King Cheng Huang, who had been constantly pursuing Yan Zhaoge earlier. While Yan Zhaoge had not taken out the Flame Devil Emperor's ring at this moment, this Flame Devil King still had a fresh memory of Yan Zhaoge's Orochi fluctuations. After detecting that it was Yan Zhaoge, Cheng Huang instantly let out a violent, enraged roar, his eyes instantly turning red as he chased after Yan Zhaoge. While Qinglin was rather taken aback, she still immediately helped Yan Zhaoge block Cheng Huang. The sword light streaked across the sky, but it wasn't bright. Instead, it was hazy, like clouds and mist like a swamp. Boundless sword lights swept out and transformed tempered steel into something soft, and it vividly displayed the profundities of the sword Dao's flexibility, tenacity, and boundless variation. While Qinglin was injured, Turbid Wave Pavilion's direct lineage martial arts were exceedingly proficient in defense, the strength of which could be said to be on par with Infinite Boundless Mountain's martial arts. Right now, Qinglin did not seek to gain merit, but only to not make any mistakes. Sword after sword, she diverted and borrowed power, every single sword blocking the berserk attacks of the Flame Devil King Cheng Huang. It looked like she was treading on thin ice, but it was actually safe. Cheng Huang was unable to break through her sword momentum for a while. With Qinglin's help, the pressure on Yuan Zhongfeng was greatly reduced, and he almost immediately switched from defense to offense. It was just that Yuan Zhongfeng still had to be careful of his opponents turning to attack Jade Sea City. The battle here fell into a stalemate for a short period of time. Qinglin's face was pale. She was injured. She could hold on for a while with the special characteristics of her martial arts, but she couldn't fight for long. Within the sea, Yan Zhaoge glanced back. Seeing that Qinglin had blocked the Flame Devil King Cheng Huang, he relaxed. Turbid Wave Pavilion's supreme Turbid Wave martial scripture, the flowing cloud illusory sword recorded within, was ranked alongside Broad Creed Mountain's limitless heavenly sword, Jade Sea City's Jade Sea formless sword, and the Heavenly Thunder Hall's divine Sky Lightning Mother sword as the four great sword arts of the Eight Extremities world. At the same time, it was also the sword technique of the current Eight Extremities world that was most proficient in defense. Although Qinglin was injured, she could hold on for a while if she focused on defense. The white cloud penetrated straight into the depths of the sea, sending Yan Zhaoge outside Jade Sea City. Gazing over, Yen Zhaoga saw that the spirit patterns of the Great Formation on the outskirts of Jade Sea City were already in tatters, on the verge of shattering. The terrifying tsunami that he had felt from afar was the result of the severe damage to the Azure Sea Limitless Array. Seeing Yen Zhaoga approach, Jade Sea City hurriedly let him in. A stream of water arose, sweeping Yen Zhaoga downwards. Yen Zhaoga stood still, not bothering with pleasantries. City Lord Song still hasn't left seclusion. The face of the Jade Sea City elder, who had received him, was also filled with worry as he swiveled his head to look in the direction of the central Great Hall of the inner city. Over there was a faint radiance of resplendent golden light. It was majestic, but its aura was a little dim and weak, as if it was about to run out of steam. We were originally already about to succeed, but the grand formation was nearly broken earlier, the massive impact having affected the City Lord's side. The current situation. This Jade Sea City Elder's voice was rather bitter. Beside him, Song Chao sat in the meditative position, his body bearing injuries that were not light. Those were injuries that had been caused by the battle with the flame devils that had rushed in earlier. Song Chao smiled bitterly. Junior apprentice brother Yen, it wasn't easy for you to get out. Why did you still run back here? Yen Zhaoga said, I am very ashamed. That flame devil king that I drew away has finally returned here. Song Chao said, Junior apprentice brother Yen, please don't say that. This flame devil king returning should be, because that even more powerful flame devil has come. If not for you drawing him away for a long time earlier, before your clan's heaven-equaling senior had arrived, my Jade Sea City would probably already have fallen. The other Jade Sea City martial practitioners by the side all nodded in agreement as well, looking at Yen Zhaoga. Their gazes contained gratitude, admiration, and even doubt. They had not thought that Yen Zhaoga's breakout back then had actually really been able to draw away a flame devil king. Even more unexpected was that Yen Zhaoga had been able to deal with the flame devil king while still remaining safe and sound. This had really toppled their understanding of the world. If it was said that he had been protected by Qinglin, and Qinglin should have long since come to Jade Sea City. Therefore, and Qinglin had clearly only just returned to reinforce the inner East Sea. For such a long time earlier, how exactly had Yen Zhaoga been dealing with the Flame Devil King? This caused everyone to be unable to understand it no matter how they thought about it, also casting a mysterious halo over Yen Zhaoga's eyes. Looking at the golden light that shot out from within the great hall, Yen Zhaoga sucked in a deep breath, asking, from the looks of it, City Lord Song doesn't seem to be seeking a breakthrough in his cultivation base. Instead, it seems like he is forging a treasure. His gaze swept past Song Chao and the others. It's a sacred artifact. Broad Creed Mountain had originally already known that they wanted to forge a sacred artifact, even having provided the unfalling ghost rock. Now that the matter was already laid out before them, Song Chao and the others naturally wouldn't deny it. That's right. Our clan has already reached the final stage of forging the sacred artifact, the Jade Sea Pill Heart Sword. Yet we have met with such a great tribulation. Song Chao sighed. My father is currently one with the sacred artifact. If the sacred artifact does not succeed, my father will be hard-pressed to extricate himself from it. If the forging of the sacred artifact fails, my father will also immediately suffer heavy injuries, being unable to resist the flame devils. Gazing at the golden light, Yen Zhaoga said slowly, due to the urgency of the matter, I have a presumptuous request. Forgive me for saying it straightforwardly. Can you send me into your clan's central great hall? I might be able to lend you a hand. As his words left his mouth, the people of Jade Sea City were all taken aback. At this critical juncture of life and death, while many sectarian views could be discarded, the forging of a sacred artifact could only be done by martial saints. Even transcending mortality martial grandmasters would not be able to interfere in it. It was also because Yan Zhaoge had previously restrained the Flame Devil King Cheng Huang, accomplishing an inconceivable miracle, that his authorities still remained. Otherwise, people would simply feel that his mind was abnormal. Yan Zhaoge's expression was heavy. 3 things. The first is to send me into your clan's central great hall. The second is for my Grand Master to send an aura condensed from the power of our clan's sacred artifact, the clear Qi robe, into the central great hall. The third is, Yan Zhaoge surveyed their surroundings. Reverse your clan's Jade Sea, limitless grand formation, its power pouring into the central great hall. Looking at the solemn expression on Yan Zhaoge's face, Song Chao and the others were all shocked. A Jade Sea City longtime elder murmured, "The grand formation is currently damaged. If it is reversed, it would directly shatter." Yan Zhaoge nodded. That's right. However, in the current situation, they could only cut off all means of retreat. The pavilion lord of Turbid Wave Pavilion, and Qinglin, was injured, not able to withstand a protracted battle. As time dragged on, the situation would become even more dire. The Jade Sea limitless grand formation that was already damaged beyond compare. As long as a single Flame Devil King attacked it now, it would also immediately shatter. However, this grand formation belonged to Jade Sea City at the end of the day. It was not good for Yan Zhaoge to say anything more, quietly waiting for Jade Sea City to make their own decision. Fortunately, the higher echelon bigwigs of Jade Sea City did not hesitate, instantly coming to a consensus as they looked at Yan Zhaoge. All right, let's go all out. Chapter 382. Having already come to a decision, an elder directly lifted his palm, Yan Zhaoge's figure flying towards the central great hall. "Senior apprentice brother Yu, please open the door." This elder said. A short while later, a crack opened in the formless restrictions enveloping the great hall, this elder bringing Yan Zhaoge within. Entering the great hall, Yan Zhaoge saw Jade Sea City's Grand Elder, Elder Yu, currently presiding over the formation. Beside him, another Jade Sea City Grand Elder was currently meditating, his face as pale as paper, as he was weak to the extreme. That was the Jade Sea City Elder, who had first presided over the Jade Sea limitless grand formation. Elder Yu having succeeded him. If he did not take over in time, this elder would be directly exhausted to death within the formation by the flame devils outside. Elder Yu's current condition was also extremely poor, clearly having been heavily injured. Having received the report from Jade Sea City's longtime elder outside, he already knew the general situation. He nodded slightly towards Yan Zhaoge, yet had no time to spare for words. Yan Zhaoge also did not bother with formalities as he passed through the great hall and headed towards the back. There, a layer of water appeared, jade green and opaque, the scenes within unable to be seen. However, a bright golden light was emitted from within. This was the place where Jade Sea City's city lord, Song Wuliang, had entered secluded cultivation to forge the Jade Sea Pill Heart Sword. Yan Zhaoge swiveled his head to look at that Jade Sea City longtime elder who had entered with him. The other party first entered the jade green screen of water, Yan Zhaoge following closely behind. Entering the water screen, Yan Zhaoge halted, his entire body enveloped by the jade green water. That Jade Sea City longtime elder similarly halted, reaching out to write a few lines of words in the air, within the water. The words seemed to be inscribed within the water, transforming into a faint stream of light after a while before vanishing. The next moment, Yan Zhaoge felt a powerful will emanating from up ahead. Without having to ask, it was clear that it was the Jade Sea Martial Saint, Song Wuliang. While Song Wuliang himself was unable to move, he was not completely ignorant of the situation in the outside world. Yan Zhaoge, was not clear on what exactly he was thinking, but this Jade Sea City Lord did not show any signs of opposition. Yen Zhaoge immediately nodded, drifting upwards. From the outside, from the top of the central Great Hall of Jade Sea City, a thick jade-green pillar of water rose into the air, connecting with the dome of the Jade Sea above the city. Yen Zhaoge's figure appeared within the water pillar, raising his head to look at the sparse spirit patterns up above that were on the verge of shattering. Then lowering his head to look at Jade Sea City down below, Yen Zhaoge sucked in a deep breath, his gaze calm and heavy. In the central hall below, Elder Yu maintained the Jade Sea Limitless Grand Formation. As the Grand Formation operated, it transmitted information to Yuan Zhengfeng and Qinglin, who were battling the orthodox flame devils on the surface of the sea. While Yuan Zhengfeng did not understand what was going on, he still controlled the clear qi robe to descend streams of clear qi even as he battled the flame devils. Black and yellow dots of light that looked like corn floated up and down. In the clear air, they looked like stars in the sky. The Flame Devil King did not understand what was going on, but still made a move to obstruct it. Yuan Zhengfeng unleashed streams of clear qi, illusory and real at the same time, negating the attacks of the Flame Devil King as a stream of peace finally fell into the Great Sea. Within the Jade Sea Limitless Grand Formation, Yen Zhaoge hovered amidst the pillar of water, staring fixedly above his head. As the aura condensed from the essence of the clear qi robe descended, Yen Zhaoge's gaze lit up. Clear qi twined around the dark green water column, fusing into it and drifting about. At the same time, Elder Yu acted according to their earlier agreement, resolutely reversing the Jade Sea Limitless Grand Formation. East Dragon Island that resembled a massive continent shook mightily once more before rising up from the sea's surface once more. The all-encompassing screen of water that enveloped East Dragon Island also began congregating towards its center up above. Numerous spirit patterns, numerous spirit formations, collapsed one after another, manifesting a destructive force. All the jade water congregated in the air above the central hall of Jade Sea City, forming a massive ball of water. East Dragon Island and Jade Sea City saw the light of day once more at this moment. A dazzling fiery light appeared before everyone's eyes, an all-encompassing sea of flames, as well as a terrifying force enveloping the horizon. If not for Yuan Zhengfeng and Qinglin blocking it, East Dragon Island would have instantly been reduced to scorched earth. That massive ball of water began shrinking, the surging jade water following that pillar of water straight downwards, surging madly towards the central hall of Jade Sea City. Situated within the water pillar, Yen Zhaoge also bore immense pressure. His expression did not change as he suddenly took out an object. It was his internal crystal furnace. Just the aura of the clear qi robe and the spiritual force gathered by the reversal grand formation alone were still insufficient to reverse the situation. Otherwise, as long as the people of Jade Sea City had not lost their courage and determination, they might not have been able to think of a similar method. However, with just one more sacred artifact and the power of the reversal grand formation, it was still insufficient. Yen Zhaoge had instructed him on 3 matters. The first was that he had to personally enter the core of the Jade Sea Limitless Grand Formation. The reason for this being the internal crystal furnace. Through the unceasing efforts of Yen Zhaoge and Broad Creed Mountain's lineage, the current internal crystal furnace had improved greatly once more. With Yen Zhaoge's cultivation base as a spirit vessel martial grandmaster, wanting to interfere in the forging of a sacred artifact just by relying on the internal crystal furnace was still insufficient. However, Yen Zhaoge had long since prepared for this. Open! Yen Zhaoge patted the body of the furnace, the lid of the internal crystal furnace opening, the aura of the clear qi robe entering within. The lid closed, the internal crystal furnace shaking mightily. "Give me—" Yen Zhaoga sucked in a deep breath before roaring, "Explode!" Accompanied by his hands clapping down on the internal crystal furnace, the massive furnace descended like a shooting star, shooting straight for the central hall of Jade Sea City down below. Before it had even arrived at the Great Hall, that bright shooting star exploded mightily. Powerful radiance suffused the area, merging with the power of the grand formation that was flowing in reverse, shooting together into the central Great Hall, where Song Wuliang was in seclusion. Instantly, the entire East Dragon Island shook intensely once more. Incomparably bright, golden light shot into the skies from the central Great Hall of Jade Sea City. The next moment, a terrifying tsunami that was not inferior in the least to when the Grand Formation had been destroyed arose with East Dragon Island as its center. It was just that this time, the waves that surged to the heavens did not expand outwards in all directions, instead converging towards East Dragon Island's Jade Sea City from all directions. Countless frenzied tides instantly drowned East Dragon Island once more, but were very quickly absorbed by the golden pillar of light that arose from the central Great Hall of Jade Sea City. In the blink of an eye, the golden pillar of light gradually transformed into a jade-green sword light. The seven seas arose, a boundless, immeasurably majestic sword intent thus born. Within Jade Sea City, as Elder Yu and the others saw this, they were all overjoyed. A sacred artifact belonging to our Jade Sea City, the Jade Sea Pill Heart Sword, has succeeded. The long-cherished wish of the entire clan had finally succeeded. Thinking of the tribulation from earlier which had almost brought them to extinction, all sorts of feelings welled up within them as they virtually wanted to cry tears of joy. Within the air, feeling the changes down below, the expressions of the flame devils all changed greatly. Some wanted to retreat just like this. Some wanted to ignore Yuan Zhangfeng and Qinglin and forcibly attack Jade Sea City first, while some attacked Yuan Zhangfeng, and the others even more violently, wanting to fight to the death. Meanwhile, within Jade Sea City down below, the all-encompassing jade-green sword light suddenly retracted, seemingly having vanished. However, the terrifying sword intent instantly shot straight up, madly attacking the flame devils up above. Having already extricated himself, Yen Zhaoga stood within the air, his hands behind his back, leisurely watching this scene. The people of Jade Sea City below looked at him. After a short period of silence, regardless of their seniority or age, they all bowed towards Yen Zhaoga. To be continued. Chapter 383. Sacred artifacts were hard to come by. In the current world, other than Broad Creed Mountain, the Sacred Sun Clan, and Infinite Boundless Mountain, the other three sacred grounds all desired one. This included the painting Saint Old Man Mo and the already deceased Devil Saint Yuan Tian, who had also been working hard to forge a sacred artifact of their own that year. And today, Jade Sea City had finally succeeded, forging a sacred artifact of their own, the Jade Sea Pill Heart Sword. Having met with a great tribulation, nearly having been annihilated, the boundless rage that had been suppressed within the heart of Jade Sea City's city lord, Song Wuliang, erupted completely at this moment. The all-encompassing jade green sword light was retracted, turning formless as though it had vanished. However, the hearts of the three flame devil kings present all shivered. Having been in contact with Jade Sea City martial practitioners for not just a day or two, they naturally knew that what they were about to face now was Jade Sea City's supreme martial art, the Jade Sea Formless Sword. While the sword light seemed formless, it had actually transformed into innumerable tiny bits of sword chi that resembled dust. While the sword chi had become tiny, it was indestructible, exceptionally sharp. Scattered between the heavens and the earth, it was omnipresent, traceless, yet pervasive. Song Wuliang executed the sword Dao of the Jade Sea Formless Sword with his sacred artifact, the Jade Sea Pill Heart Sword. his power rising to a whole new level. In virtually just an instant, countless jade-green sword lights flickered amidst the boundless sea of flames in the sky, covering the entire area, intermittently visible as they rose and fell. And Qinglin's sword was still flexible, not showing its sharpness as she only coordinated with Song Wuliang to tangle with the flame devil kings before her, sealing off their paths of retreat. On the other side, Yuan Zhengfeng finally had time to act, his attacks going wild and unrestrained. Bolstered by the clear qi robe, as Yuan Zhengfeng's palm descended, it truly resembled the collapse of the heavens as it instantly collapsed the sea of flames. Watching from below, Yan Zhaoga nodded repeatedly, while Yuan Zhengfeng, Song Wuliang, and Qinglin very rarely joined hands against enemies. At their cultivation level and rich experience, their vision outstanding, they were able to coordinate with one another as soon as they attacked. Having been trampled upon by others, Song Wuliang's heart was filled with fury. With the Jade Sea Pill heart sword having been forged and a sacred artifact born, it was precisely the time for him to take revenge. But when it came to the real fight, he still gave the position of the main attack to Yuan Zhengfeng, who was more suitable, and he himself unfolded the blue sea pill sword to trap the enemy. He was not reckless, and Qinglin didn't have a saint artifact in her hands, and at the same time, she was also injured. She didn't try to be brave at this time, giving the initiative to Yuan Zhengfeng and Song Wuliang. She was only responsible for checking for any gaps on the side. Yuan Zhengfeng, on the other hand, was in charge of the frontal assault, beating the 3 flame devil kings to the point that they were hard-pressed to defend against him. While the opponent was running for their lives, dealing with Yuan Zhengfeng's attacks, Song Wuliang's Jade Sea formless sword would be waiting in the shadows for a chance to strike, seeking out killing opportunities and creating a massive threat. The 3 peak martial experts of the 8 extremities world, working together, instantly decimated the flame devils to the point where they were utterly routed. With Jade Sea City down below having lost the protection of the Grand Formation, the intense battle situation might possibly affect this place. If not for them being wary of the people of Jade Sea City, the trio's advantage would be even greater. Of the 3 flame devil kings, Cheng Huang's temper was the worst, roaring his massive serpentine body shot towards Jade Sea City down below. From the looks of it, he actually wanted to destroy Jade Sea City, even if he had to perish here, slaying Yan Zhaoga and the others. Now, however, 2 massive palms grabbed downwards, directly grabbing the massive body of the human-headed, snake-bodied flame devil king Cheng Huang. Garbed in the clear qi robe, Yuan Zhengfeng extended his hands forward, streams of clear qi transforming into 2 massive heaven-obscuring hands, capturing Cheng Huang. Cheng Huang roared unceasingly in rage, his body twisting as he entangled Yuan Zhengfeng, blazing flames blazing unceasingly. Yuan Zhengfeng was unafraid as he exerted more force with his hands, squeezing Cheng Huang's body till creaking sounds resounded, seemingly about to shatter. The other 2 flame devil kings were respectively intercepted by Song Wuliang, who wielded the Jade Sea Pill heart sword, and in Qinglin, who was on the other side. The flame devil king Jingzhong, who was equivalent to a human second-level martial saint, let out multiple enraged roars. Looking at the Jade Sea Pill heart sword in Song Wuliang's hands and the clear qi robe on Yuan Zhengfeng, he finally felt unresigned as he quickly fled towards the east. The other flame devil king, who had attacked Jade Sea City alongside Cheng Huang, could only helplessly retreat as well. Song Wuliang and Qinglin's momentum was like a rainbow as they pursued him all the way. Yuan Zhengfeng remained where he was, streams of clear qi circulating as he resembled a massive divinity descending from the heavens, capturing a dragon with both hands. Suppressed by his power, the flame devil king Cheng Huang's entire body emitted flowing fire as he seemed to spurt out blood, letting out agonized howls. Seeing this scene, Yan Zhaoga also sighed, rather emotionally, It just so happens that it is our clan that is on good terms with Jade Sea City, and not the Sacred Sun clan. Each drink and each peck, as though ordained by the heavens, the profundities within are truly indescribable. Not counting Old Man Mo, amongst the 6 great sacred grounds, there were only the combination of Yuan Zhengfeng and the clear Qi robe or the Sacred Sun clan's Huang Guanglia, who could forcibly resist the Flame Devil King Jingzhong, who was equivalent to a second-level martial saint head-on. If Huang Guanglia were here, while he would be able to help Jade Sea City temporarily block the Flame Devil King Jingzhong, he would be unable to help Jade Sea City forge the Jade Sea Pill Heart Sword. The battle was currently in a stalemate. As time passed, if Song Wuliang was still unable to emerge from seclusion, the final outcome would clearly be very dangerous for the human martial practitioners. At the very least, the sacred ground of the 8 extremities world, Jade Sea City, which had dominated the water domain of the 8 extremities world for many years, might really be completely destroyed this time. No eggs remain intact when the nest is overturned, burdened by the artifact forging. The Jade Sea Martial Saint Song Wuliang would also perish here, heavily injured. Meanwhile, the effect of Yuan Zhengfeng arriving with the clear Qi robe and temporarily blocking the Flame Devil King Jingzhong would be the same. However, the difference was that with the help of the clear Qi robe that was already a sacred artifact, Yen Zhaoge had finally succeeded in helping the Jade Sea Pill Heart Sword come into being. With Song Wuliang and the Jade Sea Pill Heart Sword having entered the battle, the tables had instantly turned. Still, it seems like it was also because of me that the Sacred Sun clan lost the great Sun Heaven Measuring Ruler. Suddenly thinking of this, Yen Zhaoge could not help but laugh. Within the sky, Cheng Huang, who was currently struggling desperately against Yuan Zhengfeng, lowered his head to look at Jade Sea City down below, his gaze seeming to be searching for something. Yen Zhaoge did not evade, as he hovered silently in midair, meeting Cheng Huang's gaze head-on. Cheng Huang's eyes bulged as he let out a roar that shook the heavens, his body abruptly erupting with a final burst of power as he wanted to break free of Yuan Zhengfeng's grip and rush towards Yen Zhaoge. However, he was destined to only be able to think about it. Even he was not Yuan Zhengfeng's match without the clear Qi robe. Now that Yuan Zhengfeng had the clear Qi robe, Cheng Huang would find it even harder to stand against him. This Flame Devil King could only stare furiously at Yen Zhaoge, his gaze seemingly wanting to devour him whole. Yen Zhaoge smiled as he looked at Cheng Huang, waving towards him as if greeting him. When Cheng Huang saw this, he was angered to the point of ascending to the heavens. Yen Zhaoge, however, was in a very good mood. After waving his hand, he no longer looked at that Flame Devil King, instead focusing his attention on himself. While it was rather costly, the lost internal crystal furnace could still be recast. Yen Zhaoge did not mind it. What he cared about was that when he had helped Jade Sea City forge the artifact earlier, the power of the Grand Formation had surged in reverse, pouring towards the Jade Sea Pill Heart Sword in torrents. As the core of the Grand Formation, he himself had also received much nourishment. At this moment, Yen Zhaoge could clearly feel the surging, turbulent spiritual energy within his body. To be continued. Chapter 384. Yen Zhaoge stood amidst space, quietly recuperating his aura. In his body, the tide-like spiritual energy surged crazily. If it were any other spirit vessel martial grandmaster, that wild and boundless spiritual energy would be enough to burst a person's body. It was also only someone with Yen Zhaoge's strength who could withstand it, unceasingly dissolving the spiritual qi and absorbing it for his own use. The meridians of Yen Zhaoge's entire body currently seem to be formed of innumerable masses of qi, rotating unceasingly as they absorbed the abundant, water-type spiritual qi within his body. At the last moment of refining the Blue Sea Pill Heart Sword, the Blue Sea Limitless formation was reversed and almost all the water spiritual chi in the sea within a radius of 10,000 miles was absorbed. Power that was majestic like the sea was poured into the central Great Hall of Jade Sea City, providing the final safeguard for the refinement of the sacred artifact. As the instigator, while Yen Zhaoge had managed to retreat in time, he had also benefited greatly from it, wanting to truly cultivate one's own true martial spirit, refining aura into essence and stepping into the essence spirit martial grandmaster realm was not something that could be accomplished in a single bound. Now, however, with such majestic spiritual chi entering his body, Yen Zhaoge was able to establish a firm foundation once more. The accumulation of the strength of his body had once again become more abundant. He only had to wait for his comprehension of the profound mysteries of martial arts to reach a certain height, completely turning the false into the real, and that would be the time for him to charge into the essence spirit martial grandmaster realm. As the majestic water-type spiritual chi entered his body, it unceasingly nourished Yen Zhaoge's fleshly body, causing it to grow even stronger. This experience was no different from a baptism that allowed one to be reborn. Such a baptism was the result of a fortuitous encounter. It was very difficult for others to replicate it, other than the infusion of spiritual chi. In that instant when the Jade Sea Pill Heart Sword had been completely refined, Yen Zhaoge had experienced the birth of a sacred artifact, the process of its infinite profundities being condensed, which had been a unique experience. When a martial sage succeeded in refining a holy weapon, he or she would often receive feedback, improving his or her cultivation, and even having the possibility of breaking through a bottleneck. While Yen Zhaoge was not the one who had forged the Jade Sea Pill Heart Sword, he was still left in deep thought at this moment. An intense tremor suddenly emanated between the heavens and the earth. As Yen Zhaoge regained his wits, he saw the all-encompassing fiery light exploding above his head. The irascible flame devil King Chung Huang finally chose to disintegrate his body, unleashing a fatal blow towards Yuan Zhengfeng and Jade Sea City below. Sadly, his opponent was Yuan Zhengfeng, who wore the clear chi robe. The sky-covering giant hand turned the sky and earth upside down, trapping the flames of the explosion in a corner, making it difficult for it to harm the surroundings. Yen Zhaoge bowed towards the Yuan Zhengfeng in midair. "Grandmaster, it is all thanks to you arriving in time." Yuan Zhengfeng laughed and said, "No, it's all thanks to you, Zhaoge. Otherwise, I wouldn't have arrived in time." Yen Zhaoge gazed in the direction in which Song Wuliang and Qinglin and the others had fled in pursuit of the two flame devil kings. "You are about to set off immediately?" Yuan Zhengfeng said sternly, "We cannot rest. The flame devils of the outer sea seem to have already arrived in the vicinity of Long Ocean City. This old man has to rush over to take a look." Hearing his words, Yen Zhaoge nodded. Long Ocean City was indeed going to become the main battlefield. Still, with Yuan Zhengfeng with the clear chi robe and Song Wuliang with the newly forged Jade Sea Pill Heart Sword, as well as Huang Guanglie, who might have arrived as well, it should be enough to support the situation, perhaps even launch a counterattack. If the Flame Devils didn't continue to send more troops, they wouldn't be able to do much in this battle. However, it is also worth being wary of. In this battle, all the peak experts of the current 8 extremities world were basically gathered before they were able to suppress their attacks, Yen Zhaoge thought. On the other side, those of Jade Sea City also came forward to greet Yuan Zhengfeng, thanking him for his assistance. The Flame Devils had come suddenly this time. If not for Broad Creed Mountain's help, Jade Sea City would probably have been hard-pressed to tide through this great tribulation. After greeting them, Yuan Zhengfeng didn't linger as he immediately headed east. Those of Jade Sea City could also understand the situation, but they couldn't follow in the footsteps of their city lord, Yuan Zhengfeng, and in Qinglin at this moment. The Jade Sea Limitless Grand Formation having completely collapsed, Jade Sea City having also suffered attacks to a certain extent. All of this had to be taken care of. Otherwise, if a relatively large storm came, Jade Sea City would still be unable to avoid a calamity, especially now that the Flame Devils, due to some unknown reason, were able to evade the vision of human martial practitioners of the same cultivation level, moving stealthily in the dark. With Jade Sea City's current situation, with Song Wuliang not around, if they were suddenly killed, that would really be a big problem. And other than the two Flame Devil Kings who had fled in the region of sea near Jade Sea City, there were also other Flame Devils present, not lacking experts of the great Flame Devil level. These all required the extermination of Elder Yu and the others. Song Chao looked at Yen Zhaoga. Junior apprentice brother Yen, what do you plan to do next? Yen Zhaoga smiled. I will also go over to Long Ocean City, meeting the Flame Devils for a while. The more I understand about them, the easier it will be to deal with them. The main battlefield that Grandmaster, City Lord Song, and Pavilion Lord are participating in is not good to interfere in, but there are also other Flame Devils. Song Chao said, a pity that I cannot travel together with you. Still, after this matter, my clan's disciples will also be heading to the front lines of Long Ocean City. Perhaps we will meet again then. Yen Zhaoga nodded. Since that is so, we shall meet again. Seeing Yen Zhaoga's departing figure, the people of Jade Sea City exchanged looks. Amidst their gratitude and praise, their expressions gradually turned rather complicated. A long-time elder sighed, repeating what he had once said, in a few more years, throughout the entire Eight Extremities world, who will be able to stand against them? Someone looked rather worriedly at Song Chao by the side. Song Chao's expression was calm as he shook his head. I am far from being able to compare. Therefore, everyone let out a grand sigh. The External Affairs First Seat Elder, who had sent Yen Zhaoga out of the encirclement earlier, Elder Wang, smiled bitterly, looking at things from a different perspective. We should rejoice that such a figure has arisen from Broad Creed Mountain, and not the Sacred Sun Clan. Hearing his words, the others all revealed bitter smiles. Yen Zhaoga's departure this time was not as dangerous as when he had broken out of the encirclement earlier. Therefore, other than himself, there was one more person, Sikong Qing, who had remained behind in Jade Sea City earlier. Sitting on the wave-treading vessel that Jade Sea City had prepared for them, Yen Zhaoga said, the intensity of the invasion of the Flame Devils into the Eight Extremities world this time was much fiercer than I had expected. I had to let you, junior apprentice sister Sikong, take a risk. While Yen Zhaoga had been confident in his plans for breaking out of the encirclement and drawing the attention of the Flame Devil Kings earlier, he had also taken a huge risk. If not for the arrival of a Flame Devil King equivalent to a second-level martial saint like Jing Zhong, Sikong Qing would indeed have been safer in Jade Sea City. However, having heard that there had been more than one Flame Devil King like Jing Zhong, who had entered the Eight Extremities world in Long Ocean City, Yen Zhaoga had thought of how the situation over at Jade Sea City had instead been even more dangerous. Sikong Qing shook her head. What are you saying, senior apprentice brother Yen? I just feel my own weakness and powerlessness once more, unable to play a role in such a dangerous situation like you, senior apprentice brother Yen. As for the Flame Devils unexpectedly attacking Jade Sea City, no one would have been able to predict such a thing. Looking at the distant region of sea, Yen Zhaoga's gaze was rather deep and distant. No one would have been able to predict it. Chapter 385. Gazing into the distance, Yen Zhaoga fell into deep thought. Sikong Qing looked rather curiously at Yen Zhaoga. Regaining his wits, Yen Zhaoga asked, I will be heading to the Sea of Long Ocean City next. I will naturally not approach the battlefield where my Grandmaster and the others are clashing with the Flame Devil King. However, I will have to meet the Flame Devils for a while. Yen Zhaoga looked at Sikong Qing. Are you returning to the inland or coming with me? Sikong Qing's expression was as per usual. While my cultivation base is low, I would still dare to battle against a flame devil with the strength of a martial scholar. This time, I came out of seclusion to temper myself. Senior apprentice brother, Yen need not worry about me. Yen Zhaoga nodded. All right, it's fine if you want to stay. In this kind of environment, it's even better for tempering one. However, the great battle against the flame devils involves many things. It is not a fight between one or two people in one city or one land. Instead, it is close to a war. You have to blend into it. It is best not to act alone. Otherwise, accidents might occur and affect others. Senior apprentice Uncle Fu is the current first seat elder of East Sea. He should be moving together with Old Man Mo and the others. When you arrive at Long Ocean City, listen to his arrangements. Uncle Master Fu also believes that actual combat is a better way to hone people. You don't have to worry about not having the opportunity to gain experience. Sikong Qing naturally had a sufficient understanding of her master. Hearing this, she nodded, and I understand. The two of them rode on the wave-treading flying boat and headed east. On the way, Sikong Qing would also occasionally ask Yen Zhaoga for guidance on some difficult questions regarding martial arts. While she greatly admired Yen Zhaoga's various achievements, in her heart, what she valued and respected the most was still the martial Tao itself. Not mentioning those miraculous feats, Yen Zhaoga, having attained his current cultivation base at his current age, could already be considered a miracle in itself. Sikong Qing had a cold personality, seldom interacting with others. However, over the past few years, she had gradually grown familiar with Yen Zhaoga, greatly admiring him. Therefore, she was rather more casual in front of Yen Zhaoga. If she had any questions regarding martial arts, she would ask Yen Zhaoga for guidance. Yen Zhaoga was also not stingy in giving pointers to this junior apprentice sister of his whose martial talent was extremely low. Although he would not take the initiative to investigate, he was becoming more and more interested in Sikong Qing's secrets. He really wanted to see what heights this girl could reach in the future. According to the results of his interrogation of that Ouyang Qi, Yen Zhaoga had learnt that Ouyang Qi and Changning's experiences were extremely similar to Sikong Qing's. In the realm of body refinement martial artists, although they were also outstanding geniuses, they were generally still within the acceptable range of ordinary people. However, after reaching the Grandmaster realm, he suddenly exploded, as if he had been reborn. His already outstanding talent became even more outstanding, and he began to look down on and even crush ordinary geniuses. However, there were no signs beforehand, and no one was able to find out the reason afterwards. The master of Ouyang Qi and Chongning, Chun Qi, was not as polite as Yen Zhaoga. Chun Qi had carefully examined the changes in the bodies of Ouyang Qi and Yi Zichen. In the end, besides the two of them activating each other and the strange talisman markings that appeared, there was nothing special about it. Thinking of those strange runes, Yen Zhaoga narrowed his eyes, continuing to ponder. As the two headed east, having received the message from Yen Zhaoga and Jade Sea City, Ahu brought Pan Pan along as he hurried over to join them. "Young master, it's good that you're fine." After meeting, seeing that Yen Zhaoga was fine, Ahu first heaved a sigh of relief before asking curiously, "Jade Sea City really forged a sacred artifact?" Yen Zhaoga answered, "That's right, it's a sword artifact known as the Jade Sea Pillheart Sword, extremely compatible with Jade Sea City's supreme martial art, the Jade Sea Formless Sword. Executing the sword Tao of the Jade Sea Formless Sword with this sword, its power is amplified, truly being extraordinary." He told Ahu about the general course of events, picking out the important parts, while Yen Zhaoga played it down, not specifically boasting about it. Ahu still grinned as he heard it, chuckling, "Young master, you really were too impressive this time." "It's definitely this." Saying thus, Ahu gave him a thumbs up. However, after giving him the thumbs up, Ahu hesitated slightly for a moment before saying slowly, "Still, young master, Jade Sea City owes you and Broad Creed Mountain too much this time. While facing the Flame Devils, we are of the same breath and branch, being interdependent, and should help each other. If not for you and the old chief this time, Jade Sea City, City Lord Song Wuliang included, would have been wiped out by the Flame Devils in one fell swoop. As one of the exalted 6 great sacred grounds, it might have been directly erased from the 8 extremities world." Yen Zhaoge raised his head to look at Ahu. "Continue." Ahu scratched his head. "Young master, I don't know any great principles, but I've also heard the old saying that raising rice is gratitude, but fighting rice is enmity. Maybe some words don't convey the meaning. It should be called great kindness is great enmity, or something like that." Ahu looked rather worriedly at Yen Zhaoge. Yen Zhaoge smiled slightly. "I understand what you mean, but there's still no need to worry about it for now." He turned to look in the direction of Jade Sea City behind him, where the sea and the sky intersected, everything flat as East Dragon Island, and Jade Sea City could already no longer be seen. "Let's first believe that Jade Sea City has the most basic principles and bottom line. Even if they don't," Yen Zhaoge chuckled, "even if they don't, as long as the Sacred Sun clan still exists, this great kindness will not become great enmity." Hearing his words, a thoughtful expression appeared on Ahu's face. First, putting aside the relationship between Jade Sea City and Broad Creed Mountain, there had already been many years of enmity between them and the Sacred Sun clan. It was only after that great tribulation of Broad Creed Mountain, when the Sacred Sun clan had officially stepped on Broad Creed Mountain, with Broad Creed Mountain having lost the sacred artifact of the Sacred Sun heaven-measuring ruler, that the conflict between the two sides had risen to the point where it was as sharp as that between Jade Sea City and the Sacred Sun clan. Before this, for such a long time, the most famous enemies of the 8 extremities world had been Jade Sea City and the Sacred Sun clan, one water and one fire, the enmity between the two sides having already developed to the point where it was basically irreconcilable. That year, when Huang Guanglia's master, the Purple Sun Marshal St. Zhang Chao, had been awe-inspiring, it had been the most difficult period in Jade Sea City's history. Sitting quietly by the side, Si Gongqing also gazed in the direction of Jade Sea City. Yen Zhaoge asked, "Is there any news?" Ahu answered, "The Lord of the Heavenly Thunder Hall Shun Li and the Sacred Sun clans, Huang Guanglia, both arrived on the Outer East Sea earlier, stabilizing their footing along with the paintings Saint Old Man Mo and Mengwan, who wields the extreme Yin crown, blocking the Flame Devils at the border between the region of Sea of Long Ocean City and the Outer East Sea. Infinite Boundless Mountains Chief Chu brought the sacred artifact, the heaven-cleaving axe, and arrived by the coast of the mainland, remaining in the western region of the water domain to sit over it." Hearing his words, Yen Zhaoge nodded slightly. Huang Guanglia, Old Man Mo, Grand Master, and the Clear Chi Robe, Song Wuliang, and the Jade Sea Pill Heart Sword. Adding in Turbid Wave Pavilion's Pavilion Lord and the Extreme Yin Crown and the Heavenly Thunder Hall's Shun Li, right? It should be enough to at least suppress this wave of attacks by the Flame Devils, unless there are any other major changes. Yen Zhaoge took out his 9 ice shards. "If the environment permits it, I can try it." Chapter 386. Infinite Boundless Mountains Current Chief, the Northern Peak Towering Sky, Chu Yen, and his sacred artifact, the Heaven-Cleaving Axe, had not come to the sea. After all, apart from him, all of the peak experts of the human race were gathered in the East Sea to battle the Flame Devils. At this time, if any abnormalities occurred in other places such as the Earth domain, the 8 extremities world would inevitably be unable to respond in time. After the leaders of the great Holy Lands communicated with each other, Chu Yen became the final reserve team and oversaw the inland. If the battle on the sea underwent a drastic change, Chu Yen would either provide reinforcements or provide support so that he could make arrangements. Yen himself had yet to attain the martial saint realm. While he possessed the sacred artifact, the heaven-cleaving axe, it would be extremely difficult for him to break through the grand formations of the Sacred Sun Clan or the Heavenly Thunder Hall all by himself. This way, the Sacred Sun Clan and the Heavenly Thunder Hall would also not have to worry about the safety of their own backyard. Leaning against the side of the vessel, Yen Zhaoga pondered for a moment before he suddenly asked, who, other than the Hall Lord Shin Li, did anyone else of the Heavenly Thunder Hall come along? Ahu said, I heard that a few elders from the hall have come to the East Sea. Yen Zhaoga looked thoughtful. Has anyone of the Heavenly Thunder Hall's younger generation come over? I've never heard of it, Ahu replied. Even if they want to train, they'll probably only let them come after the situation has stabilized, right? Ahu looked at Yen Zhaoga. Xie Zi is dead, and I've heard that Yen Shan is still in secluded cultivation, cultivating in the sword with his left hand. Of the younger generation of the Heavenly Thunder Hall, the one they can bring out the most should be that Lin Zhou, right? Speaking of which, he has actually also reached the martial grandmaster realm. In terms of age, he is even younger than the Sacred Sun Clan's Tang Yonghao and our Broad Creed Mountain's brother Fei. Traveling alongside Yen Zhaoga in the extreme northern snowy plains, who also met Lin Zhou once more, Yen Zhaoga took out Heaven Shocker, lightly plucking the bowstring as he felt the surging power of thunderbolts within. Pay attention. If this fellow appears on the East Sea, report it to me in time. Yes, young master, Ahu agreed without thinking too much. During the great tribulation of Broad Creed Mountain, Lin Tianfeng and the others had attempted to take advantage of the situation, even joining hands with the Sacred Sun Clan to use the Anti-Sun Grand Formation to shake Broad Creed Mountain's Clear Chi Grand Formation, nearly consigning Broad Creed Mountain to eternal damnation. Afterwards, Lin Tianfeng and the others had even personally attacked Broad Creed Mountain. In the end, they had all perished there. The enmity between the Heavenly Thunder Hall and Broad Creed Mountain was already as deep as the sea. On the extreme northern snowy plains, the two sides engaged in yet another battle. Those of the Heavenly Thunder Hall had attempted to assassinate Yen Zhaoga, but in the end, more than half of them had been killed or injured by the ice pith vein that Yen Zhaoga had triggered. Afterwards, when Yen Zhaoga had saved Shi Jun and Ying Yuzhen, Lin Zhou and Zheng Shuo of Black Nightmare Mountain had launched an attack together. In the end, Zheng Shuo had been slain, while Lin Zhou had lost Heaven Shocker, also having been blinded in one eye by Yen Zhaoga. If one were to say who wanted to kill Yen Zhaoga the most in this current world, Lin Zhou would definitely be ranked at the top. Currently, with the flame devils rampaging on the East Sea and the situation being complicated, Ahu felt that it was very normal for Yen Zhaoga to be on guard against the enemies causing trouble once more. However, compared to you, he is still far behind. Ahu said, instead, it is those martial grandmaster experts of the Sacred Sun Clan and the Sacred Sun Clan, especially the Essence Talisman martial grandmasters, who we have to guard against even more. Young master. Yen Zhaoga smiled. Those people, needless to say, all have to raise their vigilance. He gazed into the distance and muttered to himself, and some people who don't look that eye-catching are easily overlooked. Who knows, they might become a great disaster. Ahu scratched his head. Retracting his gaze, Yen Zhaoga smiled. To some people, am I not such an existence? Ahu gave a simple and honest laugh. That's true. Rest easy, young master. I will pay attention. Accompanied by Yuan Zhongfeng, Song Wuliang, and Qing Lin hurrying to the borders of the outer sea of Long Ocean City's region of sea, the Eight Extremities world finally gained a firm foothold. With Yuan Zhongfeng, the painting saint Huang Guanglia, and Song Wuliang at their head, the human martial experts launched a wave of counterattacks, beating the invading flame devils into retreat. Unsurprisingly, The Jade Sea Pill Heart Sword became the focal point of the entire battlefield. Other than the extreme crown of unknown origins, which had been coincidentally discovered, it had already been many years since a new sacred artifact had been forged in the Eight Extremities world. Now that the Jade Sea Pill Heart Sword had appeared out of nowhere, many people naturally felt complicated emotions. While the sword was currently pointed at the invading flame devils, its cold light still caused many to take note of it. With a sacred artifact in hand, Jade Sea City's strength would inevitably rise as a result, its significance being no less than Broad Creed Mountain's Yuan Zhengfeng transcending mortality and entering sainthood, or the Sacred Sun Clan's Huang Guanglia successfully advancing, stepping into the second level of the martial saint realm. The Flame Devil's attacks having been thwarted, they began gradually retreating, while the peak experts of the human race began pursuing and reclaiming their lost territory. The main battlefield returned to the outer East Sea, with most of the Flame Devils in the inner East Sea having been slain. The human martial practitioners began unceasingly purging the invading Flame Devils. The younger generation of the various sacred grounds were allowed to participate in the battle, while they were not close to the main battlefield. The task of purging the remaining Flame Devils could still be undertaken, being suitable for tempering themselves. After the Jade Sea City martial practitioners had more or less stabilized the situation over at East Dragon Island, as the host, they became the main force of the purging. After sending Sikong Qing to Fu Enshu's place, Yen Zhaoge took his leave. While he had warned Sikong Qing not to act alone, lest she unnecessarily affect the overall situation, Yen Zhaoge had no intention of doing so. And whether it was Fu Enshu or Sikong Qing herself, neither of them felt that there was anything wrong with this. Countless facts had already sufficiently proved that when Yen Zhaoge acted on his own, not only did he not cause any trouble, he instead often brought him unimaginable gains. Yen Zhaoge's target was naturally not the remaining Flame Devils in the inner East Sea, above the outer East Sea. Yen Zhaoge did not ride on a transportation tool like the wave-treading flying vessel, did not sit on Pan, and also did not tread on the waves as he traveled. Yen Zhaoge's entire person was currently completely submerged within the seawater. Hu and Pan curiously followed beside him. After a long time, Yen Zhaoge's figure rose from within the water, his gaze still appraising their surroundings. Having been ravaged by the Flame Devils, the spiritual qi of the great sea here is very thin. Hu asked curiously, "Young master, what do you want to do?" Yen Zhaoge stroked his lower chin. "Oh, I want to give it a try." Hu was a little confused. "How?" Yen Zhaoge laughed. "I want to find a great flame devil." Hu instantly coughed intensely. Young master, a great flame devil is at the very least equivalent to a human martial practitioner of the 7th level of the martial grandmaster realm, the early essence talisman stage. While Yen Zhaoge had Heaven Chakra in hand, the devil-shattering ice talisman as well as the dark red ring, which countered flame devils, having to deal with a great flame devil alone still left Hu choking. Yen Zhaoge smiled. "I don't have to kill it, or even have to clash with it. I just want to find a living great flame devil in its peak condition to verify some things. That's all." Hu's face was bitter. "That's also very difficult, especially when you, young master, are very likely already a thorn in the side of the flame devils." Yen Zhaoge smiled, spreading his hands apart. "That's why I'm trying to think of a way. As the saying goes, there are always more ways than difficulties." Chapter 387. Because the battlefield was at the outer sea, most of the younger generation disciples participating in the battle originated from Jade Sea City, the Heavenly Thunder Hall, and Turbid Wave Pavilion. The younger generation disciples of Broad Creed Mountain, the Sacred Sun Clan, and Infinite Boundless Mountain were mostly like Yen Zhaoge and Sikong Qing. The disciples of the younger generation were mostly active in the inner sea as well, purging the roaming flame devils. They did not step into the outer sea, where the main battlefield was. However, there were exceptions. Lightning flashed, and a flame devil was slain. The flame demon's body exploded, as if a rain of fire had fallen from the sky. Amidst the blazing rain of fire, a figure appeared. It was a one-eyed young man who emitted an icy aura. Heavenly Thunder Hall's direct lineage, the thunder-rumbling young master, Lin Zhou. Beside him were the other Heavenly Thunder Hall martial practitioners, all of their faces dark. Lin Zhou's hair was tied with a white veil, and it slid across his face, covering his left eye. His remaining right eye was currently gazing into the distant sea. After a moment, Lin Zhou retracted his gaze, swiveling his head to look at the other Heavenly Thunder Hall martial practitioners beside him as he said slowly, "I thank all of you for remembering my father's feelings, being willing to take this risk with me." "Junior brother Lin, there's no need to say that. Avenging Master is our duty as disciples. However, you said earlier that you had a way to deal with those of Broad Creed Mountain." A middle-aged man beside Lin Zhou said in a heavy tone, "We also agreed to your choice of Yan Zhaoga as your target. However, we can't even find his figure now." Lin Zhou said lightly, "There's no need to look for him on purpose. If we look for him on purpose, it will make him vigilant instead. Although I still don't understand the reason, there are others who can help us find him." The middle-aged man asked, "Who?" A cold light flashed in Lin Zhou's right eye. "Flame Demon." Hearing this, the people around him fell into deep thought. "Yan Zhaoga," Lin Zhou muttered to himself, a myriad of thoughts flashing through his mind for a time as his past memories overlapped with his current situation, making it hard for him to remain calm. With the news of the invasion of the Flame Devils having spread, Jade Sea City's Lord Song Wuliang being in secluded cultivation, not having immediately rushed to the outer East Sea, Lin Zhou had already felt that something was wrong. Afterwards, the two Flame Devil Kings had moved stealthily together, raiding Jade Sea City's territory. Meanwhile, while Song Wuliang remained in Jade Sea City, he had yet to leave seclusion, seemingly having sunk into a state of death seclusion as he allowed the two Flame Devil Kings to wreak havoc, looking like they were about to tear down Jade Sea City. This allowed Lin Zhou to heave a sigh of relief in his heart, because the situation seemed to have returned to the right track in his heart. But what happened next was completely unexpected. While they had not personally witnessed it, the news had already long since spread on the East Sea that Broad Creed Mountain's Yan Zhaoga had single-handedly led away a Flame Devil King, temporarily alleviating the dangerous situation that Jade Sea City was in. What caused others to sigh in admiration was that Yan Zhaoga had not sacrificed himself, instead successfully contending with the Flame Devil King as a spirit vessel martial grandmaster, finally retreating unscathed, while the Flame Devil King Jing Zhong, who was equivalent to a second-level martial saint, had arrived, causing the Flame Devil King Cheng Huang, who had been drawn away by Yan Zhaoga, to return to Jade Sea City. The miracle that Yan Zhaoga had accomplished was still sufficient to leave everyone sighing in admiration. At this moment, the situation had completely exceeded Lin Zhou's expectations. In the end, when the blue Sea Pill Heart Sword was born, Lin Zhou was even a little numb. Jade Sea City's sacred artifact should still be lacking some materials, being unable to be forged. Lin Zhou pondered, "It is just that I don't know what materials they are. Could it be that some unforeseen event earlier resulted in the materials being gathered?" He shook his head. There was already no meaning in thinking about Jade Sea City's sacred artifact now. What Lin Zhou was more interested in was how Yan Zhaoga had drawn away the Flame Devil King Cheng Huang. If that Yi Jing, who has long since died, if he had come to this East Sea and met with the Flame Devils, he would have caused quite a bit of disturbance, drawing the attention of the Flame Devils. Light flickered in Lin Zhou's right eye. It is rumored that Yi Jing was killed by Yan Zhaoga. Could it be that something of his fell into Yan Zhaoga's hands? Lin Zhou leapt into the sea, the other Heavenly Thunder Hall martial practitioners exchanging looks as they followed behind him. They descended all the way to the bottom of the sea. Lin Zhou observed as he advanced, seemingly searching for something. A moment later, the underwater mountain range appeared before their eyes. Lin Zhou landed on the rocky mountain at the bottom of the sea, his sword light flickering as he pierced through the rock. Instantly, an extremely hot aura emanated from below. The middle-aged man beside Lin Zhou frowned. An underwater volcano? Senior apprentice brother Luo, this is not simply an underwater volcano. Lin Zhou said, accurately speaking, this is the fire pith vein. Having been disturbed, it is about to gush out of the Earth's surface. Where we are now is precisely one of these nodes. The middle-aged man, surnamed Luo, was slightly shocked. Who disturbed the fire pith vein here? Could it be the flame devils? Lin Zhou said, I don't think it could be anyone else. Another skinny, yet fierce-looking man beside him said, Junior apprentice brother Lin, how do you know of this? Have you informed the seniors of the clan? Lin Zhou answered, I unintentionally discovered a similar situation earlier. At first, I also thought that it was simply an underwater volcano about to erupt, but afterwards discovered that there seemed to be some force intentionally concealing its traces, thus causing my suspicions to arise. I haven't had the time to inform the seniors of the clan. Senior apprentice brother Zhang, senior apprentice brother Luo, you two should quickly report this to Grand Master now. The expression of the skinny senior apprentice brother Zhang changed. We report it. This was clearly a share of the credit. Lin Zhou said calmly, the only thing I am considering now is killing Broad Creed Mountain's Yen Zhaoga. Senior apprentice brother Luo and senior apprentice brother Zhang had solemn expressions on their faces. What do you want to do? Lin Zhou said, the flame devils will very likely make use of the eruption of the underground fire pith vein to launch a counterattack. Actually, this should have been a decisive blow. In Lin Zhou's memories, Jade Sea City had been destroyed by the sneak attack of 2 Flame Devil Kings, while Song Wuliang and the other higher echelon experts of Jade Sea City, who had gone out to participate in the battle, Song Wuliang included, had all perished in the following battle. As a result, Jade Sea City had walked towards destruction, following in the footsteps of Black Nightmare Mountain. Now that they had Yuan Zhengfeng, who had stepped into the martial saint realm, and Song Wuliang also had the Jade Sea Pill Heart Sword, the strength of the 8 Extremities world participating in the battle had been even greater. The Flame Devils had instead lost a Flame Devil King, Cheng Huang. With this, it would be very hard for the Flame Devils to obtain the battle results in Lin Zhou's memories. However, with the human experts who were currently unceasingly reclaiming their lost territory and launching a counterattack against the Flame Devils now suffering such a sudden attack, the situation inevitably became even more complicated. Lin Zhou said indifferently, if our clan seniors are careful, this battle might instead become a fortuitous encounter for our clan. As for us, we just have to wait here. While the Flame Devils seem to be retreating in defeat now, they are actually just waiting for a chance to counterattack. However, as long as we carefully follow the flow of the fire veins, even if the fire pith vein erupts here, we will still be able to ensure our safety. Next, we will observe. Wherever the Flame Devils congregate, we will go. Yen Zhaoga is likely to be there. Young master, you... Having just returned from receiving the news, Ahu stared wide-eyed and tongue-tied at the scene before him. Yen Zhaoga rushed before him, asking nonchalantly, What, is there a situation? Ahu said dazedly, Someone saw the Heavenly Thunder Hall's Lin Zhou leave the region of Sea of Long Ocean City, entering the outer East Sea, not waiting for him to finish. Yen Zhaoga abruptly grabbed him, next descending deeper into the sea together. As the two descended, at virtually the same time, blazing fire evaporated the seawater, streaking past their heads. To be continued. Chapter 388, accompanied by the descent of Yen Zhaoge and Hu, the ferocious fire dragon instantly shot over their heads. If they had still been in their original position, they would have been burnt to a crisp by this. In the distance behind them, a massive four-legged, eight-armed being whose entire body was wreathed in flames was currently in hot pursuit. Actually, it was shockingly a great flame devil. A great flame devil whose strength was equivalent to that of an Essence Talisman Martial Grandmaster. While it was not as terrifying as a flame devil king, it was still extremely ferocious. Not lacking in speed or strength, it chased closely behind Yen Zhaoge and Hu. If not for the seawater affecting flame devils, Yen Zhaoge would have long since been caught up to by it. In the distance, Pan Pan hurriedly came over as well. Grabbing Hu with each hand, they swiftly dodged to the side, as yet another roiling fire dragon assaulted them from behind. That great flame devil stomped on the ground, moving as though it was flying as it simultaneously brandished its 8 arms, seemingly throwing out one spear after another. The spears flew out of its hands, transforming into numerous fire dragons that viciously shot towards Yen Zhaoge's group. "Young master, you said that you wanted to find a great flame devil. Did you just walk straight up and infuriate the other party?" Whose voice was bitter to the point where it resembled a mouthful of Chinese medicine. Yen Zhaoge's expression was calm, not panicked in the slightest. As he traversed the seawater, he unceasingly felt the changes in the spiritual qi of the sea, as well as the power fluctuations of the great flame devil behind him. Evading the attack of that great flame devil once more, Yen Zhaoge brought Hu and Pan Pan along as he headed into the depths of the sea. "I've already made other preparations, but I want to understand more about flame devils, especially those at the level of great flame devils." Yen Zhaoge said nonchalantly, "It's about time now. We can go to the place that I prepared beforehand. Even if we can't kill him, we can at least throw him off." As he said this, Yen Zhaoge brought Hu and Pan Pan along in a mad dash, that great flame devil letting out a series of roars as it pursued closely behind them. If we delay any longer, he will probably call his friends over, attracting even more flame devils. At that time, variables will inevitably arise. Saying thus, Yen Zhaoge swiveled his head to look at Hu. "Just now you said that Lin Zhou also left the inner East Sea, coming to the outer East Sea." Hu answered, "Someone saw him and some other Heavenly Thunder Hall martial practitioners leaving the region of Long Ocean City, heading east and entering the outer east." Yen Zhaoge pondered upon hearing his words. Why did he specially come to the outer East Sea? The outer East was currently the main battlefield of the great battle with the Flame Devils. If Lin Zhou had followed his Grand Master, the Lord of the Heavenly Thunder Hall, Shun Li, it would have been fine. Moving alone was undoubtedly very dangerous. There were many great flame demons here. There were even quite a few flame demon kings. Just the shockwaves from a battle between martial sages were very terrifying. Yen Zhaoge was rather concerned by this abnormal situation. He could not help but begin carefully observing the environment of the outer East Sea that he was currently in. But before he could think about it, the sea before him suddenly began to shake violently. Violent seismic waves spread out from the bottom of the sea and spread throughout the entire outer East Sea in a short time. That terrifying momentum seemed to be even more shocking than the birth of the blue sea pill heartsword. The surface of the sea surged majestically with huge waves that reached the heavens. Undercurrents surged beneath the surface of the sea, forming countless waterspouts that wreaked havoc. The raging tsunami was just the beginning. As Yen Zhaoge lowered his head and gazed downwards, he discovered that the underwater volcanoes that had seemed normal earlier suddenly erupted in unison at this moment without any prior warning whatsoever. The natural underwater scenery that had originally been unobstructed had instead become the culprit of the tribulation at this moment. The The dark depths of the sea turned crimson at this moment, everywhere that Yen Zhaoge's gaze passed. It was all filled with dazzling red light. The underwater volcanoes erupted in unison, also being extremely violent and tyrannical as compared to normal. Numerous volcanoes directly broke apart, infinite flames surging out from within, causing the surrounding crust of the seabed to shatter along with it. The entire underwater world was completely transformed into a sea of flames at this moment. The violent, surging heat seemed limitless and without end as it rose unceasingly. The temperature of the seawater instantly rose as it evaporated. It was not just a single region of sea that had such a problem. Instead, it affected the entire outer East Sea at this moment, spreading outwards in all directions. It was often said that the heavens were incinerated and the sea was boiled. The scene before him truly had the momentum of the sea being boiled. Infinite waves dissipated. A great amount of hot steam rising on the surface of the sea, forming a dense mist that was all white. The great sea that should originally have been a world of water was blazing hot at this moment, as though it was about to completely transform into a sea of flames. Seeing this scene, Ahu and Pan Pan were shocked to the point of being unable to speak. Yen Zhaoge sucked in a deep breath. Even a great flame devil king might not be able to do something like this, turning the entire outer East Sea into a world of flames. The area of the outer East Sea, when compared to the mainland, was not something that a county or a region could compare to, instead being the size of half the heaven domain. Earth veins. Only after the fire pith veins have been touched would such a great disturbance be caused, dragging Ahu and Pan Pan along. Yen Zhaoge dodged a pillar of fire that shot into the sky. The flame devils want to turn the environment of the Great Sea, which is disadvantageous to them, into an environment like their own home ground, the flame devil world. What a great move. From the looks of it now, the entire outer East Sea had once been occupied by the flame devils, with the entire Eight Extremities world's defensive line having been forced to retreat to the region of Long Ocean City within the inner East Sea. A massive disaster had been buried, giving the flame devils the chance to do as they pleased in the outer East Sea, making arrangements. Now regaining his wits, Ahu cried out involuntarily. The old chief and the others were actually also deceived. Yen Zhaoge shook his head. On one hand, they were deceived, but on the other, they also didn't expect it. While the flame devils have also entered the Eight Extremities world before, the flow of spiritual chi in the earth veins is constantly changing. Having entered this time, they could only fumble about from the beginning. Within such a short period of time, the flame devils were actually able to clearly grasp the flow of spiritual chi in the Eight Extremities world's earth veins, causing a change in the fire pith veins. After all, they came from a completely different world from here. This is also precisely what I am curious about. While I do not underestimate the strength of the flame devils, at the same time admitting that they are not without intelligence, this is really a little inconceivable. Unable to dive towards the depths of the sea now, Yen Zhaoge brought Ahu and Pan Pan along as he rapidly rose towards the surface of the sea. There is something or some unique technique that helped the flame devils to do this, also helping them to conceal the signs of the changes in the earth veins, instead deceiving us of the Eight Extremities world. A cold light flickered within Yen Zhaoge's eyes. Having been obstructed for a moment by the violent tsunami and undercurrents earlier, as the flame sea unceasingly devoured the Jade Sea, the great flame devil caught up once more. Yen Zhaoge could clearly feel that the other party's aura was even more brutal than before. In such an environment, the strength of the flame devils was clearly still recovering, even growing. It was not just this great flame devil before Yen Zhaoge. At this moment, on the outer East Sea, with the flame devil kings at their head, all the flame devils seemed to have broken free of their shackles as they began to unleash terrifying waves of counterattacks. Having just launched a counterattack on the Outer East Sea, turning defeat into victory, the Eight Extremities World martial practitioners instantly suffered an even fiercer counterattack from the Flame Devils. To be continued. Chapter 389. The first to detect the changes in the earth veins of the Outer East Sea were Yuan Zhengfeng and the others. The human martial saints who were currently locked in a fierce battle with the Flame Devil Kings immediately felt the abnormalities in the depths of the great sea down below. Yuan Zhengfeng and the others wanted to suppress the eruption of the fire pith vein, but Jingzhong and the other Flame Devil Kings had long since been waiting for this moment as they immediately launched a fierce counterattack. What caused the experts of the Eight Extremities world to feel troubled was that they could very directly feel the strength of the Flame Devils before them abruptly skyrocket. This was not because the Flame Devil King Jingzhong had previously been holding back. Instead, after the external environment had changed, the combat power of the Flame Devils had been boosted. Having originally been at a disadvantage, the unceasingly retreating Flame Devils immediately launched a counterattack. The offensive and defensive positions of the two sides changed once more. Fortunately, Yuan Zhengfeng, Huang Guanglia, and the others reacted in time, immediately stabilizing their footing, not allowing the Flame Devils to easily gain the upper hand. Other than the great battle between martial saint experts on the Outer East Sea, Fu Enshu and the other martial grandmaster experts were also locked in a fierce battle with the other Flame Devils. Not just the Flame Devil Kings. All the Flame Devils were like fish in water amidst the changes in the environment. This was especially so for the great Flame Devils, their strength rising greatly, causing the martial practitioners of the Eight Extremities world to feel pressured. Essence Talisman martial grandmasters of sacred grounds basically all possessed high-grade spirit artifacts, their actual combat power often surpassing that of great Flame Devils of the same level. Before this, the great Flame Devils had to rely on their numerical advantage to make up for their lack of individual combat power. However, now that the fire pith vein at the bottom of the sea had erupted, the former blue sky and jade sea having transformed into a sea of flames, the great Flame Devils had all become extremely ferocious. Caught unawares, Fu Enshu and the others even suffered some losses, with more than one Essence Talisman martial grandmaster being injured by the sudden attacks of the Flame Devils. What caused the human martial experts to feel especially wary was that as time passed, amidst this environment where flowing fire abounded, the Flame Devils grew bolder and bolder as they fought. Yan Zhaoge had already noticed this problem at this moment. The great Flame Devil chasing after him seemed to not know exhaustion. The frequency at which this great Flame Devil threw out the fire spears was even more concentrated, also seeming to be going all out with each one. However, Yan Zhaoge could feel that not only had the other party's strength not been depleted, it had instead become even more vigorous. Yet, Yan Zhaoge could feel that not only had its strength not been depleted, it had instead become even more vigorous. Numerous fire lances were hurled consecutively, instantly transforming the surrounding heavens and earth into a cage of flames, wanting to seal off Yan Zhaoge's path of retreat along with the roiling ocean down below. Ahu grimaced in pain. "Young master, didn't you say that you had already made arrangements? Can it still be of use now?" The immortal crane wings on Yan Zhaoge's back expanded, the purplish-green light of thunder flickering within his right eye as streams of electricity stimulated his entire body, flowing to the wings on his back. As it flapped its wings, it raised its speed to the limit, narrowly dodging another fire spear. "I can't use it in this environment." Yan Zhaoge curled his lips. We still have to retrieve it. There will be other uses for it." As he spoke, he soared up into the sky, and then suddenly dove down. Dodging the attack of the great Flame Devil behind him, the other party had already chased after him ferociously. Yan Zhaoge released his hands. The figures of Ahu and Pan Pan descending. Meanwhile, he himself turned around and drew his bow, Skyshocker roaring, as 3 devil-shattering ice talismans howled out, transforming into golden light as they shot towards that great flame devil. Having shot out 3 arrows, Yen Zhaoga kept Heaven Shocker, the immortal crane wings on his back vibrating as he sped downwards, his hands grabbing onto the descending Ahu and Pan Pan once more. Struck by the devil-shattering ice talismans, that great flame devil halted in its tracks, but flames quickly surged madly about its entire body. The blazing hot aura of the surrounding heavens and earth also worked together, very quickly dispelling the golden frost. The great flame devil howled madly, chasing after Yen Zhaoga once more. Yen Zhaoga brought Ahu and Pan Pan along as he dove down towards the great sea once more. The sea before them was already completely boiling, the seawater roiling as countless massive bubbles surged up before exploding consecutively. Just the explosion of these bubbles could form an extremely powerful destructive force, making it hard for people to approach them, let alone the seawater down below. Pan Pan let out a low roar, numerous streams of black water, and numerous streams of white flames appearing out of nowhere, surrounding himself, Yen Zhaoga and Ahu. The white flames and black water temporarily separated the boiling sea from the blazing hot flames. Yen Zhaoga brought Ahu and Pan Pan along, returning to the depths of the sea. At this moment, the depths of the sea had already turned into a world of flames and lava, bright red and bright, filled with the aura of destruction. Gazing over, Yen Zhaoga saw a massive ball of ice fixed within the seawater, neither rising nor sinking, amidst the boiling hot seawater. The surface of this ball of ice also emitted crackling sounds, numerous cracks appearing on it. While it had not truly shattered, if it continued to remain in such an environment, it would clearly still be destroyed by the sea of flames. Yen Zhaoga pushed on that massive ball of ice with his palm, his shadow shrinking pouch opening like a snake swallowing an elephant, keeping that ball of ice within. With just this short pause, the great flame devil behind them had already caught up once more. Carefully observing the unceasingly spurting underground fire at the bottom of the sea, Yen Zhaoga decisively brought Ahu and Pan Pan along as he sped forward. This is also not the Southern Underground Palace. Such a large-scale change in the earth veins that encompasses the entire outer East Sea, the eruption of underground fire, it would not be a single explosion. There should be many nodes acting as a chain reaction. A cold light flickered within Yen Zhaoga's eyes. It would instead be calmer at the nodes where the earth veins are triggered as well as the chain reaction. Avoiding the underground fire spurting from the depths of the sea down below, avoiding the attacks of the great flame devil behind them, calculating the circulation pattern of the fire pith veins according to the surrounding environment, sprinting madly all the way, Yen Zhaoga split his attention into 3, his mind working to the maximum as he even vaguely felt a little dizzy. Finally, the temperature of the surrounding boiling sea suddenly dropped a little. Gazing over, Yen Zhaoga saw that on the crimson depths of the sea, an existence that resembled a path had shockingly appeared. Those were numerous underwater mountain ranges, seemingly protected by a formless power as they were not invaded by the surrounding sea of flames. Amidst the boundless sea, underground fire erupted everywhere at the bottom of the sea. Here, however, there was a region that was completely unaffected. Amidst the all-encompassing flowing fire, there seemed to be a long line that extended into the distance, its end not visible. Yen Zhaoga let out a long breath. It is indeed so. However, the great flame devil behind them caught up once more. The environment of the outer East Sea had already changed completely. Even in this peaceful world, its power was still boosted by the sea of flames. This great flame devil rushed madly on all fours, lunging towards Yen Zhaoga. Yen Zhaoga ignored him, instead determining his direction for a moment before continuing forward along the fire-free path. As he unceasingly calculated his position within his heart while fighting with that great flame devil behind him, after a long journey, Yen Zhaoga's speed suddenly slowed. Gazing over, he saw that a break had suddenly appeared in the underwater mountain range before him. While it was not like other places where underground fire erupted unceasingly, the mountain range here was broken, its center sunken downwards, forming a place that resembled a deep abyss. Within the deep abyss, the crimson light of fire emanated from within. To be continued. Chapter 390. Seeing that deep abyss from which the light of fire surged, Yen Zhaoga immediately sped over. The expression of the great flame devil behind him changed slightly as it let out an enraged roar that was hard to understand, its speed seemingly also abruptly increasing as it chased after Yen Zhaoga. "Young master," whose expression was extremely solemn as he suddenly shouted in a low voice. Yen Zhaoga's expression was calm. "Yeah, I felt it." In the distance, there were several powerful auras currently heading in this direction. Their auras were violent and blazing. They were clearly flame demons. Amongst them, there was a powerful aura that was not inferior to that of the great flame devil behind them. It was clearly a great flame devil as well. Soon, several figures burning with flames appeared in the distant sea. The one in the lead spread his wings and flew high like a firebird. In the blink of an eye, he arrived near the abyss. Following closely behind this great flame devil were other flame devils. Seeing Yen Zhaoga, they simultaneously let out enraged roars that shocked the heavens. The great flame devil chasing behind Yen Zhaoga was also roaring furiously, seemingly conversing with one another. "Young master, as this great flame devil chases after us, it is also trying to establish contact with the other flame devils," Ahu said in a heavy voice. "As time drags on, there will be even more flame devils rushing over to reinforce and surround us." Yen Zhaoga did not speak, instead continuing resolutely charging towards the deep abyss of fiery light. As he advanced, he suddenly released the huge ice ball from his shadow shrinking pouch. As he arrived at the very top of that deep abyss, Yen Zhaoga formed a fist seal with his right hand before punching the ice ball. The ice ball suddenly shook and fell vertically, falling into the abyss that was flickering with fiery light. The flame devils before and behind him all let out enraged roars, shooting towards Yen Zhaoga at an extremely high speed. Yen Zhaoga ignored the two great flame devils, instead punching out towards that ice ball from the air once more. The ice ball that had yet to completely shatter in the sea of fire disintegrated at this moment. As the rays of light flickered, they weaved into icy blue runes that formed a huge formation. The 9 icicles stood at the edge of the formation. At this moment, they expanded and turned into 9 white pillars of light. They pierced through the deep sea and stabilized the formation. At the center of the formation was a large amount of golden ice crystals, all of which were the devil-shattering ice talismans that Yen Zhaoga had forged. The formation floated in the air before slowly descending into the abyss. At the bottom of the abyss, the magma and raging flames seemed to be sentient, sensing something. They continuously rose, no longer as calm as before, starting to gush upwards. That fiery bird-like great flame devil hesitated slightly, seemingly wanting to descend to the bottom of the abyss. Meanwhile, that 4-legged, 8-armed great flame devil that had been chasing behind Yen Zhaoga all along flew into a rage as it madly chased after Yen Zhaoga. He raised his arm, a fire spear shooting towards Yen Zhaoga once more. Yen Zhaoga and Ahu landed on Pan Pan's back. Within the depths of the sea, Pan Pan spread his claws wide, dashing madly all the way. Some of the other flame devils lunged towards the deep abyss down below, while others also headed over to obstruct Yen Zhaoga. The threat they posed to Yen Zhaoge was far from comparable to those two great flame devils. If not for the existence of those two great flame devils, Yen Zhaoge would be able to slowly take care of them. Now, however, with the great flame devil by the side, the threat of these flame devils attacking from all sides had also become immense. Yen Zhaoge didn't get entangled with them as he drew back Heaven Shocker, shooting out one devil-shattering ice talismans after another. Numerous streaks of golden light shot through the depths of the sea, condensing into a massive glacier which obstructed those flame devils. However, the fire spear thrown by the great flame devil behind him arrived before him in an instant, fast to the point that he couldn't evade in time. The violent, blazing aura caused the glacier created by the devil-shattering ice talismans to begin melting and breaking apart unceasingly, filled with an aura of destruction. Holding the bow with his left hand, Yen Zhaoge retrieved a small black incense burner with his right at lightning speed, facing that fire spear that was shooting over madly towards him. This great flame devil was huge, and the fire spear it threw was also a massive object, being several tens of feet long and over a meter in diameter. Yen Zhaoge brought the earth-devouring burner to block before him. It was rather mystical, as the space before the earth-devouring burner seemed to distort, the massive fire spear shrinking rapidly as it was absorbed within the earth-devouring burner. Pan Pan made use of this chance to bring Yen Zhaoge along, speeding forward. Now, the purplish-green light of thunder abruptly flashed within Yen Zhaoge's right eye, a faint piercing pain emanating from within. Having been reminded by Yen Zhaoge, Pan Pan abruptly opened his mouth and roared, spitting out a streak of blazing white fire. The white fire arrow shot far into the distance, traversing the seawater unimpeded at first. Yet it suddenly halted. The next moment, as though light had suddenly appeared within the boundless darkness, numerous streaks of green thunder suddenly appeared. A small amount of strange, silvery white lightning mixed within. The green light of thunder shot into the skies, transforming into a heaven-obscuring barrier, enveloping the vicinity of the deep abyss. As the white fire arrows shot out by Pan Pan collided with the barrier of green thunder, it was instantly shattered by the light of thunder. Seeing this, Yen Zhaoge's pupils instantly dilated slightly. Heavenly Thunder Hall. Enveloped by the light of thunder, the figure of a one-eyed youth appeared. It was precisely Lin Zhou. Other than Lin Zhou, there were also other Heavenly Thunder Hall martial practitioners scattered in groups of 2s and 3s, each taking up a foothold. 3 great green flags formed a tripod, jointly supporting the massive divine sky green thunder barrier before them. Before Lin Zhou and the others could speak, Yen Zhaoge directly let out a low roar, the light of thunder flickering within his right eye as a purple orb surfaced above his head. Eye of the Thunder Emperor fragment. The terrifying and instant's thunder roared madly, venting its tyrannical power to the extreme. That instant's heaven-shocking, earth-shaking eruption caused even the great flame devils who had been chasing closely behind Yen Zhaoge earlier to feel a chill. The terrifying light of thunder that resembled a long river surged forward, directly vaporizing all the seawater in the vicinity, clearing out a path of vacuum. As an instant's thunder collided with the divine sky green thunder barrier, a great green flag was directly shattered into smithereens. Where the great flag stood, a great amount of the rocks at the bottom of the sea collapsed, the scene of the heavens collapsing, and the earth caving in. The Heavenly Thunder Hall martial practitioners in the vicinity of the Great Flag, that skinny senior apprentice brother Zhang included, all lost their footing as they fell downwards together. The all-encompassing green thunder was instantly ripped apart, a massive fissure in the blink of an eye. Yen Zhaoge brought Ahu and Pan Pan along, wanting to rush out of the fissure. However, Lin Zhou seemed to have long since been prepared for this, as he suddenly flashed another great green flag that was exactly the same as the first one. The three great flags reunited. The divine sky green thunder barrier erected once more, blocking the path of Yen Zhaoga's group, who let loose a torrent of abuse. Good, is your heavenly thunder hall in cahoots with the flame devils? Lin Zhou stared fixedly at Yen Zhaoga with his right eye as he said coldly, "Our clan is merely surrounding and obstructing the flame devils who are causing trouble. You just happen to be within their midst. It is just a coincidence. However, it is also not good for us to let you out. Otherwise, if the flame devils escape and cause destruction, none of us will be able to bear the responsibility for that. If there are any injuries, we can only say that it is regrettable. In a battle with the flame devils, there will inevitably be sacrifices. The broad-creed young master, Yen Zhaoga, has always been of noble character and unquestionable integrity, probably not caring about his own life. Here, on behalf of all the life forms of the Eight Extremities world, I thank you for your efforts and sacrifices." Chapter 391. Looking at Lin Zhou, Yen Zhaoga raised his brows slightly. That silvery white light of thunder just now. Lin Zhou's gaze was also focused on the eye of the Thunder Emperor fragment above Yen Zhaoga's head, having grown dim due to the depletion of an instant's thunder. It's clearly just a fragment of a sane artifact, yet with the two combined, it can already unleash such a powerful attack. Every time he heard news of Yen Zhaoga's Eye of the Thunder Emperor fragment displaying its godly might, Lin Zhou would feel depressed to the point of wanting to vomit blood. If not for him having long since been prepared, Yen Zhaoga would already have killed his way out of the encirclement just now. Yen Zhaoga's path forward was sealed by Lin Zhou's divine sky green thunder barrier once more, not allowing him to continue trying to break through it as the roiling waves of heat had already assaulted him from behind once more. Seeing the power of Yen Zhaoga's Eye of the Thunder Emperor fragment weakening, that four-legged, eight-armed great flame devil attacked once more. Above their heads, the divine sky green thunder barrier sealed off the surrounding space. Yen Zhaoga immediately brought Pan Pan and Ahu along as he rushed downwards, evading the attack of that great flame devil behind them. Due to the bombardment of an instant's thunder, a large portion of the underwater mountain range under Xiao Chen's feet had collapsed. It even caused shattered rocks to fly about and underground fire to spurt out. It was a chaotic scene, and light and shadows were blurry. Yen Zhaoga's group evaded the underground fire that spurted upwards, as well as the mud and rocks that roiled everywhere, diving downwards. That great flame devil chased closely behind them, its violent flames destroying and clearing away everything in its way. Lin Zhou gazed downwards and saw nothing but a blur. However, he remained calm and collected. Apart from the area around the node, the rest of the area is filled with surging fire pith veins. It will be difficult for you to pass through with that earth-escaping artifact of yours. You're daydreaming if you think you can travel underground along the peaceful undersea mountains. Having descended into the depths of the collapsed mountain range, Yen Zhaoga very quickly discovered that the divine sky green thunder barrier did not just envelop the area around and above the underwater rocks. Just as he broke through the rock, layers of green lightning appeared and blocked his way. The divine firmament azure lightning barrier even covered the rocks below. Normally, it would not seem to be a problem, but once someone approached, it would immediately be activated. Numerous bolts of green thunder shot into the skies. Yen Zhaoga attempted to use his blood devil plate to break through them, yet discovered that this divine sky green thunder barrier contained the essence of Lin Zhou's inverted yin-yang mother world within, causing it to flow endlessly. Although the blood devil plate, which was specialized in breaking barriers, could break it, it would take some time. Sadly, that great flame devil in hot pursuit behind him would not give Yen Zhaoga sufficient time. He sprinted madly on all fours, already arriving behind Yen Zhaoga. Once more, his 8 arms spreading wide as blazing flames swept about, resembling a net of fire as it enveloped towards Yen Zhaoge. The other flame devils lunged over as well. While Lin Zhou and the others were also human martial practitioners, as compared to them, Yen Zhaoge, who possessed the ring left behind by the Flame Devil Emperor, attracted the attention of all the Flame Devils more. While the Flame Devil King Cheng Huang was dead, Yen Zhaoge's appearance, as well as his martial concept and aura, had already been targeted by the Flame Devils. But right at this moment, in another direction, in the fiery abyss between the underwater mountains, suddenly came a loud roar filled with shock and anger. That great flame devil, in the form of a fire bird, which had dove into the deep abyss, was currently roaring madly. Other than fury and shock, its roar clearly also contained an aura of fear. While Yen Zhaoge and the others could not understand the language of the flame devils, the other flame devils outside the deep abyss clearly all understood the meaning of that great flame devil's roar. The expressions of all the flame devils changed greatly for a time. The next moment, the deep abyss of flames suddenly shook intensely. This underwater mountain range had originally been rather calm, but now the fire pith veins buried deep underground seemed like they were also about to erupt. What was abnormal was that the unceasingly rampaging world of flames in the distance suddenly began to weaken. The all-encompassing lava showed signs of cooling, the underground fire also beginning to gradually extinguish. Although the entire outer East Sea was still engulfed by the earth fire, the violent underground fire pith in the sea region with this underwater mountain range as the center, and this node as the center, had instead calmed down. There was only that underwater mountain range at the center of the deep abyss, shaking intensely. A figure wanted to rush out of the deep abyss, his expression filled with indescribable panic. It was precisely that great flame devil in the form of a firebird. However, before he could rush out, a massive suction force seemed to emanate from within the deep abyss, dragging him downwards, wanting to drag him in once more. This great flame devil roared unceasingly, yet was unable to break free. As the others looked over in shock, they saw a terrifying vortex gradually surging out from within the deep abyss, ice and fire intermingling. The vortex itself floated upwards, yet sucking everything in its surroundings within, dragging it into the deep abyss. Trapped within, that great flame devil struggled unceasingly, yet was unable to do anything, as it could only watch helplessly as it was devoured by the vortex. Seeing this, the other flame devils were all greatly shocked. Some wanted to save it, some wanted to flee far away, some launched attacks towards the vortex, some even more violent, falling into frenzy as they launched attacks towards Yen Zhaoge, Lin Zhou, and the others. For a time, the situation in the vicinity of the underwater mountain range turned chaotic. That four-legged, 8-armed great flame devil suddenly swiveled its head, glaring furiously at Yen Zhaoge, the flames of fury within its eyes burning even brighter as it ignored everything else chasing after him. The underwater mountain range gradually began to break apart, even more underground fire spurting out. The massive vortex that slowly arose from within the deep abyss expanded unceasingly into the surroundings. A moment ago, it had still been a rare, safe region in a world of calamity. Now, it had become a terrifying hell on earth. Lin Zhou stared with his right eye, gazing downwards, trying to ascertain where Yen Zhaoge's figure was. Amidst the light of fire and water, Yen Zhaoge's figure was indistinct, the traces of a great flame devil behind him instead even more obvious. Standing beneath another great flag, that Heavenly Thunder Hall martial practitioner surnamed Luo yelled, "Junior Apprentice Brother Lin, let's retreat as well. That vortex is too terrifying. If we don't retreat in time, we might also be swept along." Lin Zhou yelled in a heavy tone, "Steady, the divine sky green thunder barrier can help us by enough time." Along the mountain rock that was on the verge of shattering, a skinny figure crawled over to the vicinity of a great green flag. It was precisely that martial grandmaster surnamed Zhang of the Heavenly Thunder Hall, who had been affected by Yan Zhaoga's an instant's thunder earlier. Senior apprentice brother Luo, junior apprentice brother Lin, what exactly happened? He yelled loudly. Senior apprentice brother Luo hurriedly let him in. Are you all right? Senior apprentice brother Zhang's face was filled with misfortune. I wasn't directly struck by the thunder. While the great flag was destroyed, it also protected me. He looked with lingering fear at that rising vortex from within the deep abyss. Let's retreat as well. Lin Zhou clenched his teeth. Wait a little longer. As long as we block that Yan Zhaoga's path, the great flame devil will be able to slay him. Even if the great flame devil cannot kill him, he will definitely be sucked into that vortex before us. Gazing over carefully, he saw that four-legged, eight-armed great flame devil currently rising unceasingly. Above the great flame devil, Yan Zhaoga carried the shrunken Pan in his arms as he shot upwards in a straight line. Yan Zhaoga's gaze burned as it just happened to meet Lin Zhou's gaze. Behind him, the great flame devil followed closely behind. Looking a little further away, that massive vortex was expanding unceasingly, already sweeping over as well. To be continued. Chapter 392. Yan Zhaoga's momentum was like rushing thunder as he rushed before the divine sky green thunder barrier, grasping the earth-devouring burner as he pushed it towards the green light of thunder. Lin Zhou shouted, Yan, Zhao, sing. As he shouted, Lin Zhou suddenly reached out and grabbed his face, removing the blindfold that had been covering his left eye. In the extreme northern snowy plains, Lin Zhou's left eye that had been blinded by Yan Zhaoga suddenly opened. His eye sockets were pitch black, and his eyeballs could not be seen. There was no luster at all, only pure and primitive darkness. When the surrounding light came into contact with Lin Zhou's left eye, it immediately disappeared as if it had been devoured. It was like the quietest and purest night. Yan Zhaoga instantly felt as though he was situated amidst endless darkness. There was no sound, no light, no sense of the existence of space, no sense of the flow of time, only a boundless great fear, the aura of a great calamity. The earth-devouring burner vibrated, and a strange suction force was emitted, completely swallowing this darkness. Only when the darkness was eliminated did light begin to shine. Boundless, surging, roaring, silvery white lightning. Yan Zhaoga raised his brows. No wonder. So it is one of the 9 heavenly immortal thunders alongside an instant's thunder, the thunder of eternal night. The thunder of eternal night turned the world into a primordial darkness, blocking out all sights and sounds as the world entered an eternal night. Then the thunder of eternal night rang out, transforming into the purest and most primitive lightning. It broke through the darkness, tearing apart heaven and earth wherever it went. Wherever the lightning went, darkness would enshroud it, depriving and suppressing the target's sense of hearing, touch, vision, and other senses, making it seem as if the target had died in a deep sleep. Lin Zhou let out a muffled groan as blood flowed out of his left eye socket. A ray of silver-white light flew out of his left eye and hovered above his head. It was a light sword formed by silver-white lightning, obstructed by Lin Zhou. Yan Zhaoga's footsteps halted slightly as the great flame devil behind him had already caught up. His 8 arms were raised in unison at this moment, 8 fire spears that were filled with the aura of destruction stabbing towards Yan Zhaoga. Yan Zhaoga's expression did not change as he roared, his second accompanying shadow shrinking pouch suddenly opening. From this shadow shrinking pouch, 2 pillars flew out, growing with the wind and instantly becoming extremely huge. A true dragon's body was sealed in an ice pillar, and a stone pillar was surrounded by dazzling lights. It was a magnificent sight. Yen Zhaoge controlled the pillar of the divine palace, suddenly releasing its suppression on the ice pillar. Although the true dragon's body sealed in the ice pillar was lifeless, its spirituality had yet to dissipate, and it immediately became restless. As the great flame devil's fire spear stabbed over, its blazing, destructive aura immediately stimulated the remains of this ice dragon. As the ice pillar trembled, it naturally reacted to the stress. Waves of dragon might spread from it, and the frozen ice dragon inside seemed to come to life. Ice and fire collided intensely at this moment. That great flame devil's attack was blocked, while the icicle was sent flying backwards. However, Yen Zhaoge made use of this chance to control the pillar of the divine palace, viciously colliding towards that great flame devil. Runes lit up in the sky, interweaving in the air and transforming into boundless light, causing the divine palace's pillar to seem much larger. Amidst the rumbling, that four-legged, eight-armed great flame devil was knocked dizzy as it tumbled backwards. The pillar of the divine palace was also knocked flying backwards. Yen Zhaoge extended his hand to support it once more before pressing it down, suppressing the corpse of the ice dragon, which had been restless earlier. Having been struck by the great flame devil, the corpse of the ice dragon also fell silent for a moment, just happening to be suppressed by Yen Zhaoge with the pillar of the divine palace once more. Yen Zhaoge opened his shadow shrinking pouch. The pillar of the divine palace suppressing the true dragon's body retracted. However, an even greater danger was already right before their eyes. That vortex which had arisen from the deep abyss expanded unceasingly, devouring the surrounding space, as its periphery had already caught up to Yen Zhaoge. That great flame devil, which had been knocked into retreat by the pillar of the divine palace, let out a shocked and enraged howl, half its body already having been sucked in by the vortex. The vortex swept outwards unceasingly, sweeping and devouring everything that dared to stand in its way. It was now just a foot away from Yen Zhaoge, standing within the divine sky green thunder barrier. Lin Zhou clutched his bleeding left eye with one hand, pointing out towards Yen Zhaoge with the index and two fingers of his other hand like a sword. The eternal night thunder sword circling above his head chopped towards Yen Zhaoge. While that terrifying vortex was already right before his eyes, Lin Zhou clenched his teeth, not retreating at all as he glared fixedly at Yen Zhaoge with his right eye. Yen Zhaoge, either you die today, or I die. Lin Zhou's face was deathly pale, but his expression was brutal. If you can leave the East Sea alive this time, I will drink up all the seawater here. That strange silvery light of thunder of the eternal night thunder sword instantly transformed into darkness, obscuring the heavens and obscuring the sun, wanting to devour Yen Zhaoge. With the divine sky green thunder barrier blocking his path and the thunder of eternal night intercepting him, Lin Zhou went all out, wanting to directly knock Yen Zhaoge into that terrifying vortex which devoured everything before him. That great flame devil whose body was already halfway within the vortex also roared now, a fire spear appearing within its hands as it hurled it towards Yen Zhaoge. This fatal blow was aimed at dragging Yen Zhaoge down with him. Yen Zhaoge's body spun, the earth-devouring burner within his hands meeting the fire spear, blocking that terrifying destructive power. At the same time, Yen Zhaoge flicked his right sleeve, a dark green bamboo branch of 3 segments, long appearing within his palm. The bamboo branch shot out, light everywhere as it struck the incoming thunder of eternal night. The darkness retreated, the silver light exploding as the eternal night thunder sword was sent flying backwards by Yen Zhaoge. Lin Zhou let out a muffled groan, blood leaking from the corner of his mouth, but he stood firmly, stabilizing the divine sky green thunder barrier as he blocked the incoming Yen Zhaoge. That terrifying vortex was already about to come into contact with Yan Zhaoga's body. Before Yan Zhaoga, there were still numerous barriers of green thunder blocking his path. The periphery of the vortex was already in the vicinity of the green thunder. That senior apprentice brother Luo called out, "Let's retreat as well." Lin Zhou roared, "Wait a little longer." Besides senior apprentice brother Luo, senior apprentice brother Zhang also called out, "We can't wait any longer." Lin Zhou was greatly enraged. "I said wait a little longer. Wait, what are you doing?" All the Heavenly Thunder Hall martial practitioners were dazed like wooden chickens. Right in front of them, their senior apprentice brother Zhang formed his hands into claws, grabbing senior apprentice brother Luo's neck before twisting it forcefully. Senior apprentice brother Luo let out a great roar of despair, his entire body surging with aura-chi of thunder. However, senior apprentice brother Zhang similarly surged with aura-chi, forming a terrifying black storm with purple light flickering within. A ferocious black tiger appeared behind senior apprentice brother Luo's back, letting out a heaven-shocking roar as it twisted the neck of that Heavenly Thunder Hall martial practitioner surnamed Luo, his head being separated from his body. Lin Zhou was rendered wide-eyed and tongue-tied. Black Nightmare, Divine Wind, Ghost Tiger Divine Claw. Senior apprentice brother Zhang laughed loudly, still looking thin and capable. "It is precisely your Lord Tiger. Ah." Amidst his loud laughter, his movements did not cease as he consecutively struck out, breaking that great green flag, which had originally been supported by senior apprentice brother Luo. The divine sky green thunder barrier instantly began to collapse. Sitting on Pan Pan, Yan Zhaoga shot forward, looking coldly at Lin Zhou. "Drink all the water of the East Sea. You may begin now." To be continued. Chapter 393. Having come from a sacred ground, having seen many things after their initial shock and incomprehension, the Heavenly Thunder Hall martial practitioners had already reacted. The rare treasure imitation killing jade, after the user had killed a target within a certain period of time, would be able to use their aura-chi to imitate the target they had killed. As long as they did not fight, even the breathing in and out of their inner chi would be completely the same as the target they were imitating. Whose understanding of that Heavenly Thunder Hall martial grandmaster, surnamed Zhang, was limited, not being clear on his habits, thus being unable to imitate him perfectly. However, amidst the chaotic and tense situation just now, he had been careful not to reveal any traces, successfully hiding it from the Heavenly Thunder Hall martial practitioners within a short period of time. The risk involved was self-evident. If he had been exposed in the slightest, he would have been surrounded and killed. However, with high risk came high rewards. At the final moment, when everyone's attention had been highly focused on Yan Zhaoga and that terrifying vortex, Ahu had made use of the chance to suddenly erupt. As the divine sky green thunder barrier broke, Yan Zhaoga instantly surged forth like a ferocious tiger descending a mountain. Greatly enraged, some Heavenly Thunder Hall martial practitioners rushed towards Ahu. Within the crowd, Ahu was instantly surrounded. However, after entering the divine sky green thunder barrier, Yan Zhaoga leapt off Pan Pan's body, a transparent glazed plate appearing in his hands. The glazed plate shone with a blood-red light. As Yan Zhaoga opened it, numerous streaks of blood-red light instantly flew out. It was precisely the rare treasure that specialized in breaking through all kinds of barriers, the Blood Devil Plate. Being within the barrier this time, the Blood Devil Plate displayed its effects, numerous streaks of blood-red light dancing about, suffusing the divine sky green thunder barrier that had cracks appearing on it. Yan Zhaoga punched out with his hands, one fist, one palm, both striking forward simultaneously. As his aura-chi shook, the blood-red light abruptly surged. Within the damaged barrier of green thunder, numerous blood-red lines intersected, resembling veins. The remaining 2 green flags were instantly covered in a layer of blood red, and their surfaces were covered with dense blood red lines. Behind them, that terrifying vortex was still expanding unceasingly. The edges of the vortex had already come into contact with the divine sky green thunder barrier, the damaged barrier instantly on the verge of collapse. The eternal night thunder sword above Lin Zhou's head shone with a silvery white light. At this moment, the light vanished, turning into darkness, resembling the boundless night sky. Staring at Yan Zhaoge, he roared furiously, turning and leaving under the envelopment of the night sky. Yan Zhaoge looked coldly at Lin Zhou as Pan Pan returned to his side after receiving Ahu. Sitting on Pan Pan's back, with just a thought from Yan Zhaoge, Pan Pan spread out his claws, shooting forward madly. Behind him, seeing the vortex closing in on them, the Heavenly Thunder Hall martial practitioners also struggled, wanting to flee. Not turning back, Yan Zhaoge punched out towards the divine sky green thunder barrier. Inside the enchantment, the blood-red threads that filled the sky shook at the same time, and the 2 green flags exploded and shattered. The rolling green lightning exploded in succession, and the entire enchantment completely collapsed. The violent thunderbolts instantly engulfed the group of Heavenly Thunder Hall martial practitioners. The frenzied, explosive force it stirred up even seemingly obstructing that vortex for an instant. The next moment, the vortex continued to expand. Those Heavenly Thunder Hall martial practitioners who had not perished in the explosion of the barrier were obstructed by the light of thunder, their footsteps slowing as they were swept along by the vortex, as well being dragged within. Sitting on Pan Pan's back, Yan Zhaoge and Ahu instantly left. The underwater mountain range before them was still shaking intensely, underground fire erupting into the air from time to time, resembling hell on earth. Yan Zhaoge gazed at a dark shadow up ahead, that dark shadow flickering amidst the flickering light of fire, zigzagging as it fled unceasingly. Heaven shocker that erupted with purple thunderbolts returned to Yan Zhaoge's hands once more. As he drew the bow, a streak of golden light shot out. Devil-shattering ice talismans had a suppressive effect on flame devils, but when used to beat people, the effect was similarly not bad. Where the golden light passed, the entire ocean was instantly sealed in ice. Ferocious silver-white lightning burst out of the shadow, shattering the surrounding glaciers. However, with just this delay, Yan Zhaoge had already swiftly caught up. A blazing, violent aura emanated from the nearby deep sea as more flame devils approached, surrounding Yan Zhaoge and the others. I'll leave it to you. This time, Yan Zhaoge ignored the flame devils as he leapt down from Pan Pan's back, his sword light resembling a dragon as it split apart the seawater, chopping straight towards Lin Zhou. Within that dim darkness, Lin Zhou roared in rage, silvery white thunderbolts erupting from the darkness, resembling the creation of the heavens and the earth as they shot towards Yan Zhaoge. Yan Zhaoge merged with his sword, resembling the incarnation of a green dragon as he descended from the heavens. His figure spun in midair, numerous green sword lights obscuring the heavens and covering the earth as they shot out in all directions, resembling a green dragon shaking its armor. The green sword light and the white light of thunder clashed unceasingly in midair, being extinguished one after another. However, that surging dragon might, that blazing sword intent, still enveloped Lin Zhou. It was fine if Lin Zhou met him head-on, but if he dared to turn and flee, drawn in by his aura, Yan Zhaoge's sword would directly nail him to death at the bottom of the sea. Kill! Lin Zhou's face was pale as paper, but a resolute light surged within his sole right eye. He reached out and grabbed, the white sword of light above his head landing within his hands, transforming into an actual sword. The blade was jet black, white light circulating on its edge. A saber appeared within Lin Zhou's other hand. The aura chi of his entire body surged madly, condensing on the saber as he hacked out consecutively. Set off by the terrifying chi of thunder and lightning, Lin Zhou's figure seemed to have suddenly grown much taller, resembling the descent of a Thunder King. One of the heavenly Thunder Hall's two supreme martial arts, the 9 rotating Thunder King saber. On the other side, even if Lin Zhou didn't draw on his aura chi, the power of the Eternal Night Thunder Sword was still much stronger than when he himself wielded the 9 rotating Thunder King saber. While it wasn't a combination of the Divine Sky Lightning Mother Sword and the 9 rotating Thunder King saber, as Lin Zhou brandished both sword and saber, he still brazenly executed a secret martial art of the heavenly Thunder Hall, thunder and lightning intermingling. Beneath the intermingling of purplish-green thunder and silvery-white lightning, countless snakes of electricity slithered about within the sea, terrifying beyond compare. A sword that contains the thunder of eternal night. Its quality is not bad. Yen Zhaoge said calmly, a dark green bamboo branch that flickered, with a purple light appearing within his left hand. As the bamboo branch moved, it blocked Lin Zhou's Eternal Night Thunder Sword. Meanwhile, the jade dragon sword in Yen Zhaoge's right hand flickered, directly shattering Lin Zhou's saber light. As for you, you're still far from it. Lin Zhou roared furiously, the shattered saber light abruptly changing directions, chopping towards Yen Zhaoge with an even more ferocious momentum. This was the essence of the 9 Revolutions Thunder King's saber, and Lin Zhou had already understood it. However, Yen Zhaoge's sword aura resembled a torrent that surged to the heavens, unstoppable as it advanced forward, easily shattering the second wave of saber light. You seem to have forgotten that the last time we met was when you were a mid-Xiantian martial scholar, and I was an early Xiantian martial scholar. Not waiting for Lin Zhou to unleash his third transformation saber light, Yen Zhaoge's sword had already arrived before him, directly shattering the spirit artifact saber in his hands. Yen Zhaoge's sword did not cease in the slightest as it surged forward, resembling Mount Tai pressing down on an egg. Lin Zhou's eyes seemed on the verge of imploding as he watched Yen Zhaoge shatter half his body with a single sword. Right now, you're an early-stage Spirit Vessel Grandmaster, and I'm a late-stage Spirit Vessel Grandmaster. If we only rely on our own cultivation, Yen Zhaoge's dark green bamboo branch whipped out once more, sending Lin Zhou's Eternal Night Thunder Sword flying as well. Then he kept the jade dragon sword with his right hand and slammed down with his palm. The world before Lin Zhou's eyes spun as if the sky was collapsing. Now, if we only rely on our own martial arts cultivation, I can easily beat 100 of you. To be continued. Chapter 394. Within the deep sea, the underwater mountain range shook, rocks shattering, underground fire erupting, the scene of the end of the world. Standing within the seawater, Yen Zhaoge's palm descended, resembling the collapse of the heavens. The dark whirlpools within the surrounding seawater all became still, completely locked in place. The water did not condense into ice, but seemed to have turned into a solid state, unable to cause any ripples at all. Beneath Yen Zhaoge's palm, Lin Zhou's originally heavily injured, bloodied body instantly erupted with even more blood mist, completely breaking apart. Fresh blood shot out from Lin Zhou's left eye that had long since been blind. He struggled, his right eye still glaring furiously at Yen Zhaoge, filled with hatred and unwillingness. Looking calmly at Lin Zhou, Yen Zhaoge said mildly, "What are you thinking about what you would definitely do if you could be reborn once more?" Lin Zhou's right eye abruptly dilated as he stared fixedly at Yen Zhaoge. Seeing his expression, Yen Zhaoge nodded. "Originally, I couldn't be completely sure, just that through the analysis of various signs, I felt that you had been reborn once more. Looking at your expression now, it should really be so." Lin Zhou's vision was already gradually turning blurry, but his mind, due to the final radiance of the setting sun, became exceptionally clear. "You are indeed different from me, but also different from others. Looking at Lin Zhou, Yen Zhaoge shook his head. I wonder how long you lived for in your previous life. Did you experience the invasion of the flame devils this time? If you did, having some understanding of the flame devils' sudden assault on Jade Sea City, as well as them activating the fire pith vein here in the outer East Sea, then trying to provide this information to the others of the Eight Extremities world against the invasion of the flame devils this time, everyone would be much more relaxed. You would also obtain immense fame and merit. Not only would your heavenly Thunder Hall reward you, others would also be grateful for your contributions. Yen Zhaoge said calmly, Didn't you do very well that time at Clear Concealed Lake? While it was known to the outside world that before the incident at Clear Concealed Lake, the Heavenly Thunder Hall digging out their decimating abyss's hidden pawn was the merit of Lin Zhou's father, Lin Tianfeng. However, Yen Zhaoge guessed that Lin Tianfeng should have benefited from Lin Zhou. Although the infiltration of the decimating abyss is too strong, causing the information to be leaked and the results to be greatly discounted, there's nothing wrong with the train of thought. You truly surpassing Yen Shan, being appointed as the number one of the younger generation by your Heavenly Thunder Hall, should also stem from that matter, and not from your cultivation-based surpassing Yen Shan's. That was because they would be able to interfere with the world's situation. They would no longer be ordinary disciples of the younger generation, young geniuses. Lin Zhou snorted coldly. Don't mention Clear Concealed Lake. If you really want to talk about it, you should have died in Clear Concealed Lake. In the Battle of Clear Concealed Lake, due to the leak of the news, the decimating abyss had successfully counterattacked. However, in the end, the core of the devilish domain Grand Formation had been destroyed by the martial scholar Yen Zhaoge at the time. That battle had also been the stage on which Yen Zhaoge had risen to prominence in the entire Eight Extremities world. After that, there was no one under the heavens who did not know of him. Regarding Lin Zhou's words that he should have died at Clear Concealed Lake, Yen Zhaoge smiled nonchalantly. Lin Zhou was even more enraged. So what if I painstakingly schemed? My father did not die at the hands of the 9 underworld evil devils, but still perished at your broad Creed Mountain's hands. Yen Zhaoge understood. So from then on, your mentality completely changed, he said calmly, while your cultivation base continued to grow unceasingly, while you also obtained many fortuitous encounters and treasures, even obtaining the thunder of eternal night, you became less confident. Yen Zhaoge shook his head rather speechlessly. The continuous twists and turns of the great battle of Broad Creed Mountain, with his father Lin Tianfeng having perished at Broad Creed Mountain, had caused the gates of darkness within Lin Zhou's heart to open, the seeds of madness beginning to sprout. In the extreme northern snowy plains, having been defeated by Yen Zhaoge, once more in the struggle for the old residence of the glacial dragon martial saint, having lost his father's relic, Heaven Shocker, and having been blinded in one of his eyes, Lin Zhou's bottom line had been completely broken through. First, he had firmly believed that he was the main character of this era. After suffering consecutive setbacks, he had begun to doubt himself. While it seemed like he was still making use of the advantage of having been reborn, of knowing much information in advance, he had actually gone from actively fighting for it to passively waiting. Staring fixedly at Yen Zhaoge, Lin Zhou felt his spirit gradually dissipating, his life finally about to leave him. His voice was low. At this point, there is no benefit in saying more. If I can have another chance to be reborn, I will definitely fight with you once more. 2 lifetimes, both ultimately filled with regrets. I am not resigned to it. Lin Zhou used the last of his strength to glare furiously at Yen Zhaoge. Don't be complacent, Yen Zhaoge. You have only lived for 1 or 2 years longer than me. Yen Zhaoge raised his brows, looking at Lin Zhou. Lin Zhou laughed loudly. Right? You don't know. You all don't know. No one knows. Only I know. Ignorance is bliss, able to let you live more stable days. Yen Zhaoge, I'll be waiting for you down below. Looking at Lin Zhou, Yen Zhaoge suddenly laughed. Right? I don't know, but as I stand here, you know that you will be lying here forever. You say that, what's the difference between not knowing? Lin Zhou's laughter abruptly stopped, as though someone had grabbed his throat, leaving a trembling final sound. Whether you can redo it once more, I don't know, but now you can go in peace. Yen Zhaoge said indifferently. Didn't you notice that after Clear Concealed Lake, the general trend of the world, with or without you, actually didn't make much of a difference? Perhaps this world has left you with regrets, but with you gone, there is nothing for this world to regret. Yen Zhaoge's palm descended. Looking at it from a certain perspective, if the you at Clear Concealed Lake had perished to the current Eight Extremities world, there really might have been some possibility that it would have been a loss. However, you yourself turned the matter of importance into something inconsequential. Lin Zhou died with remaining grievances, his body completely exploding into a mist of blood. A faint silhouette of a soul also dissipated into thin air. His soul dispersed, doomed for all eternity. Yen Zhaoge shrugged. The third one is no different from slapping others to death. He extended his hand, the eternal night thunder sword floating within the sea that flickered with the white light of thunder drifting over towards him. The eternal night thunder sword shook, wanting to transform into layers of darkness, resisting Yen Zhaoge's grasp. Yen Zhaoge placed the dark green bamboo branch on it, the shaking of the eternal night thunder sword calming somewhat. However, that pervading darkness still enveloped over towards Yen Zhaoge, wanting to devour him. Yen Zhaoge's expression was calm, a chaotic chi mass seemingly forming within every single acupoint of his body, absorbing this darkness in great amounts, yet no silvery white light of thunder was seen to be emitted. Within Yen Zhaoge's mind, however, lightning lit up, thunder roaring. Having had the experience of refining the fragment of the eye of the Thunder Emperor, Yen Zhaoge's current refinement of this unique treasure, the Eternal Night Thunder Sword, was much smoother. This thing is more like a crystallization of a strand of thunder of eternal night, having been infused with a strand of sword intent. Yen Zhaoge's gaze lit up slightly. This thing is not bad. Perhaps it can be refined into one of the 9 heavenly immortal thunders, the thunder of eternal night. Chapter 3, 95. The difficulty of refining the eternal night thunder sword was greater than Yen Zhaoge had expected. However, this instead caused Yen Zhaoge to feel rather joyful, as he sensed that this treasure before him was even more powerful than he had expected. Due to the limitations of his cultivation base, Lin Zhou was unable to wield its full power. The Eternal Night Thunder Sword also placed a huge burden on Lin Zhou. Each time he wielded it, activating the thunder of eternal night, Lin Zhou's own body would be affected instead. Of course, this sword also brought Lin Zhou immense benefits. Just like how Yen Zhaoge had stored the eye of the Thunder Emperor fragment in his right eye, Lin Zhou was also nourishing the sword with his own body. As it nourished and refined the Eternal Night Thunder Sword, the sword intent of thunder was also imperceptibly nourishing the chi and blood of Lin Zhou's fleshly body. Darkness did not mean evil. Pure darkness also had the effect of nurturing life, like a baby in its mother's womb. When used against enemies, the thunder of eternal night was extremely ferocious, the darkness suppressing and robbing the opponent of their sensory abilities. When the silvery white light of thunder exploded, it could destroy all things. However, when used to nourish a martial practitioner's body, the effects were extremely good, even better than the eye of the Thunder Emperor fragment that produced an instant's thunder. Carefully analyzing the aura contained within the Eternal Night Thunder Sword, Yen Zhaoge could not help but nod repeatedly. While it is ranked 9th amongst the 9 heavenly immortal thunders, the weakest in terms of pure destructive power, and inferior to the 6th ranked and instant's thunder, it still has its own unique aspects. While the Eye of the Thunder Emperor had been a sacred artifact in the past, it had been broken at the end of the day. Yan Zhaoge currently only possessed a fragment. The concept of an instant's thunder within was violent, yet incomplete. Instead, while this eternal night thunder sword before him could not be compared to the Eye of the Thunder Emperor in terms of quality, the essence condensed from the thunder of eternal night within was comparatively complete. Quietly analyzing its profundities, Yan Zhaoge was gradually able to come into contact with some of the unique aspects of this 9 heavenly immortal thunders. Other than the aura of the thunder of eternal night, carefully analyzing the sword intent condensed from this immortal thunder, Yan Zhaoge could also feel that it was rather unusual. This sword intent is capable of stirring up thunder in silence. It's quite compatible with the thunder of eternal night. No wonder it's so compatible. After refining the eternal night thunder sword, Yan Zhaoge reined in his thoughts of letting things go as he swept his gaze over the area, seeing that Ahu and Pan Pan were still clashing with some flame devils, flashing the dark red ring. The aura of the flame demon emperor within it immediately attracted the attention of all the flame demons present, causing their bodies to stiffen and tremble at the same time. There were no great flame devils present. Flame devils with lower cultivation bases were all affected by this ring to varying degrees. Yan Zhaoge did not waste time on words as Heaven Shocker appeared once more, arrows shooting out in rapid succession as a devil-shattering ice talisman was shot out. The golden light intertwined with purple lightning exploded in the deep sea, and a surging chill instantly swept out, freezing a large amount of seawater. Although the surrounding environment was surging with underground fire, and the seawater was boiling, the temperature was also dropping rapidly. Trapped by the glacier, the flame demon's power was suppressed, and its movements were restricted. Yan Zhaoge's sword resembled a dragon as he joined hands with Ahu and Pan Pan to go on a killing spree, breaking out of the encirclement. Having arrived in the distance, looking back, Yan Zhaoge saw that the underwater mountain range with the deep abyss of flames as its center had already been completely obscured by a massive vortex. The vortex expanded outward to a certain extent before finally stopping. However, the ice and fire continued to interweave and spin, forming a terrifying vortex that showed no signs of slowing down. It lasted for a long time. The reefs of the underwater mountain range in the vicinity of the vortex broke apart unceasingly, a great amount of underground fire spurting out unceasingly, just like the entire outer East Sea earlier. The seawater was boiled, a great amount of steam rising. Gazing into the distance, it was all white. Instead, with this place as its center, the fire pith veins that had been wreaking havoc in the surrounding region of sea earlier had now settled, regaining their former calm. The situation of the two, as compared to before, was exactly reversed. However, this was only in the vicinity of this region of sea. Continuing into the distance, the other areas of the outer East Sea were still filled with scenes of the end of the world, of the Jade Sea having transformed into a fiery hell. Standing beside Yan Zhaoge, Ahu still had the appearance of that martial grandmaster of the Heavenly Thunder Hall, surnamed Zhang. For the duration of the imitation killing Jade's effect, he would always maintain this appearance. However, this state could be dispelled prematurely if the user so wished. That skinny body abruptly straightened, the bones of his entire body emitting crackling sounds. The previous senior apprentice brother Zhang abruptly grew taller by almost 2 heads, his body also turning from skinny to muscular. Who regained his original appearance, stroking his lower chin. Young master, this imitation killing Jade is really useful. Sadly, there is only one. This time, you really took on a great risk. Yan Zhaoge's gaze was still gazing in the direction of the vortex. Under normal circumstances, for the imitation killing Jade to be used for impersonation, it is either to deal with people who are unfamiliar with the impersonator, or it is like that black nightmare mountain bastard back then, where you are extremely familiar with the impersonator. Otherwise, even if the external appearance is the same, if the expression, tone, and habits of the impersonator are greatly different from the impersonator, those who are familiar with the impersonator would feel suspicious upon seeing it. While it is possible to imitate the other party's inner chi, it can only be done in a situation where an intense battle is not taking place. If the other party becomes suspicious, as soon as they make a move to test it out, it will immediately be seen through, Yan Zhaoge said. This time, it was because of the urgency of the situation, the other party's attention not on you. Otherwise, it would have been very dangerous for you. Ahu chuckled. Their attention is all on you, young master. While I seem to be in danger, I am actually safe. Yan Zhaoge nodded, his gaze fixed on the massive vortex of ice and fire in the distance. There, as time passed, the vortex of ice and fire finally began to gradually weaken, slowly dissipating. Ahu smacked his lips. Young master, don't tell me that we have to follow the veins, destroying them bit by bit. There are probably hundreds of such nodes in the entire outer East Sea, if not 1,000. Yan Zhaoge shook his head. It's no use. The momentum of the flame devils has already been established. Just destroying these nodes would only be treating the symptoms and not the root of the problem. Carefully observe the surroundings. Hearing his words, Ahu touched the back of his head, looking around earnestly, his expression gradually turning solemn, because he discovered that as time passed, the nearby region of sea, which had originally already been relatively calm, showed signs of restlessness once more. The underwater mountain range broke apart once more, the underground fire which had retreated earlier showing signs of eruption once more. The surrounding seawater, which had been isolated by his aura chi, could clearly feel its temperature rising. Yan Zhaoge suddenly laughed. The numerous veins of the nodes intersect, resembling a massive net that encompasses the entire outer East Sea. As long as a single node is destroyed, not much time would be needed. With the combined effects of the entire net, it would be able to cause this corner, which had calmed down, to erupt once more. However, this kind of movement originates from the center of the net, causing the entire net to move together. Ahu came to a realization. Young master, this is your true goal in destroying this node, to test the waters? Yan Zhaoge gazed in a certain direction. That's right. Through the restoration of this node and investigating the flow of the power of the net, we will be able to ascertain where its center is. That is where the crux of the problem lies. Letting out a long breath, Yan Zhaoge patted Pan Pan beneath him. Now let's set off. Chapter 396. Sitting on Pan Pan's back, Yan Zhaoge gazed into the distance, yet his gaze seemed unfocused. Concentrating, he unceasingly felt the changes and movements of the circulation of the earth veins at the bottom of the sea, earnestly identifying the source of the changes in the fire pith veins. Unlike earlier, when all the nodes had been detonated at the same time, the true core of the network of fire veins set up by the flame devils had been concealed. Now, only that single node had been destroyed, being maintained and restored by the fire network as a whole. Traces instantly appeared in the circulation of the fire network, allowing Yan Zhaoge to trace its source and find its core. The region of sea where the vortex of fire and ice had arisen earlier had already been left far behind by Yan Zhaoge. However, Yan Zhaoge could feel that the scene of the end of the world erupting with underground fire had already returned there, the roiling jade sea having transformed into a boundless sea of flames. The abnormalities had already continued for many days. The seawater of the outer East Sea had already evaporated in great amounts. If not for the unceasing replenishment of the surrounding sea, the vast outer East Sea would probably have already been burnt dry by the underground fire. The strange changes of nature had also caused the current weather over the sea to become extremely chaotic. Hurricanes, torrential rains, earthquakes, and tsunamis were already a common occurrence. With such a large-scale abnormality occurring with the earth veins of the outer East Sea, even the spiritual chi flow of the entire sea, and the eight extremities world was being affected. If this continued for a long time, the effects would be even more profound, hard to predict. For the flame devils, who only knew destruction and plunder, they didn't really care about what the world before them had become. However, for the martial practitioners of the eight extremities world who had been born and raised here, the abnormalities in the spiritual chi flow were undoubtedly a massive calamity. The usually carefree, who was now filled with worry. Young master, there should probably be flame devil experts guarding the core, right? Yen Zhaoge stared ahead as he said, "It is not impossible." Sitting on Pan Pan's back, the two proceeded forward. The routes connecting the various nodes were still stable, forming a rather long and narrow safe zone. The underwater mountain range was silent, no underground fire erupting. And on the left and right sides of this long and narrow path, blazing fire could be seen unceasingly spurting from the depths of the sea, colliding with the seawater above as countless massive bubbles were formed which then rapidly floated to the surface of the sea. There was not just one such long and narrow path, but many of them, intersecting as they were laid out at the bottom of the outer East Sea. Yen Zhaoge did not follow a single path to the end as he advanced, instead changing directions multiple times in order to reach his destination as quickly as possible. Passing by many nodes along the way, Yen Zhaoge did not make a move as he just sped towards the core hub, the 9 icicles that had been used to set up the frigid abyss Dharma realm had already been used up at the first node in the fiery abyss. Currently sitting on Pan Pan's back, Yen Zhaoge hurried along while forging a second batch of ice spikes. It was a pity that his internal crystal furnace had already exploded in Jade Sea City in order to assist in the birth of the Jade Sea Pill Heartsword. If he wanted to refine the ice alls now, the difficulty would undoubtedly be much greater. Yen Zhaoge could only slowly polish them. On the outer East Sea, there were currently both the flame devils and the martial practitioners of the eight extremities world, the great battle between the two sides still continuing. Although the current outer East Sea was not as fiery as the flame demon Great World. However, the change in the external environment had caused the roles of host and guest to be reversed. The flame imps, instead, seemed to be fighting on their home ground. Not only did their battle prowess increase, they also seemed to never tire, becoming more and more valiant as they fought. The human martial artists could only grit their teeth and resist. The casualties gradually increased. Along the way, whether it was the flame devils or the human race, Yen Zhaoge met quite a few of them. However, on his way this time, Yen Zhaoge carefully kept the dark red ring left behind by the Flame Devil Emperor, preventing its aura from leaking out. Not just that, having already attracted the attention of most of the Flame Devils, Yen Zhaoge himself also kept his aura as much as possible. Now that the situation was urgent, speed was of utmost importance. Since the core of the fire net had already been roughly confirmed, Yen Zhaoge decided to avoid wasting time along the way as much as possible. Moving underwater, even with Pan Pan opening the way, their speed could not compare to that on land. As time passed, the surrounding environment had already become more and more hostile. Yen Zhaoge's expression was calm as usual, but a worried look inevitably appeared within his gaze. Finally nearing another node, Yen Zhaoge patted Pan Pan lightly. Pan Pan's advancing speed instantly slowed. While it seemed ordinary, no different from the other nodes, through Yen Zhaoge's various calculations, he could confirm that the node that had appeared before him now was that core that originated from the source of this massive fire net that enveloped the entire outer East Sea. For the flame devils to be able to shake the spiritual chi flow of the eight extremities world's earth veins on such a large scale within a short period of time, at the same time also hiding it from the eyes and ears of human martial experts, detonating the fire pith vein. It was most likely here as well. The reason Yen Zhaoga halted was because the scene before him was completely a perilous land. The problem did not lie at the bottom of the sea. At the bottom of the sea was a silent stretch of reefs. There was only a massive entrance to a deep abyss at the center of the underwater mountains, within which streams of crimson fire flickered. The problem lay at the surface of the sea. Incomparably violent power fluctuations emanated from the top of the deep abyss of flames. In the air above the sea's surface, a great battle that was tragic to the extreme was currently underway. Its scale was even vaster and more terrifying than the previous great tribulation of Broad Creed Mountain and Jade Sea City. Even Yen Zhaoga, who was bold to the extreme, could only halt at this moment, not lightly approach. The so-called collapse of the heavens and the collapse of the earth, the overturning of rivers and overturning of the seas, was also just this. Seeing this scene that caused everyone's expressions to change, Yen Zhaoga instead heaved a sigh of relief, the anxiousness in his gaze easing slightly. Grandmaster and the others have indeed found their way here. Currently, the intense battle above the sea, the heavens and the earth overturning, was precisely the peak martial experts of the Eight Extremities world, led by Yuan Zhongfeng, Huang Guanglia and the others, as well as the Flame Devil Kings who had descended into the Eight Extremities world this time. The peak experts of the two worlds had originally been locked in battle in various parts of the Outer East Sea, locked in a stalemate. Now, however, they had all congregated in the region of sea near the core of the fire net. Yen Zhaoga had destroyed a node of the fire net in the distance, causing a change to occur in the entire fire net as it began to repair itself. Whilst battling the flame devils, the human experts who were also trying to suppress the abnormalities in the fire pith vein immediately felt that something was different. Yuan Zhongfeng and the other martial saint experts who were the strongest naturally detected it immediately, all deducing the changes in the earth veins as they found their way to the center of this fire net. Jingzhong and the other Flame Devil Kings naturally couldn't allow Yuan Zhongfeng and the others to come and cause trouble. Therefore, they had pursued and fought all the way here, all congregating here. This region of sea was extremely vast to ordinary people. However, to martial saints, it was only a limited space. At this moment, within this extremely limited space, more than 10 martial saint experts were gathered on both sides, battling to the point where the heavens collapsed and the earth split apart. To be continued. Chapter 397, with the Outer East Sea as the main battlefield, the great battle between the human experts of the Eight Extremities world and the invading flame devils was already nearing its climax. Accompanied by the unceasing eruption of the fire pith veins, the flame devils gradually gained the home ground advantage, launching a counterattack as they unceasingly threatened the regions outside of the Outer East Sea. At this moment, Yuan Zhongfeng and the other peak experts of the human race, having detected the source of the eruption of the fire pith veins, immediately hurrying over. The peak experts of the Flame Devil race were all gathered here as well, the two sides in a decisive battle in this region of sea. Yen Zhaoga remained on the outskirts, not approaching blindly. At the core of the battlefield, more than 10 martial saint experts attacked together, the surrounding space virtually already having been pierced through. Even the surrounding participants were all Essence Talisman martial grandmasters and great flame devils at the very least. Otherwise, just the aftershocks of the clash between martial saints would be sufficient to sweep through everything. It was like the situation during the great tribulation of Jade Sea City back then, just that the positions of the two sides were reversed now. At that time, Yuan Zhongfeng and Qinglin had been on the defensive side. Facing the attacks of Jingzhong and the other Flame Devil Kings, they had had to divert their attention to protect Jade Sea City, inevitably falling into a passive position. Now, however, It was the exact opposite. The flame devils had to protect the core of the fire net here, preventing it from being destroyed by Yuan Zhengfeng and the other human experts. This way, with the two sides not having much of a difference in strength, the attacking side would unquestionably hold the initiative. If the defending side focused solely on defense, revealing a flaw, the attacking side might be able to make use of it, injuring the defending side. However, as time passed, the flame devils who had turned the outer East Sea into a sea of flames instead gained the home ground advantage, growing more and more valiant as they fought. If this continued, the flame devils would become even more arrogant. Their main targets were Yuan Zhengfeng, Huang Guanglie, and the other human martial saint experts. However, they did not care much about martial grandmasters. Human martial grandmasters neared that deep abyss of flames, yet were unable to destroy it. A powerful force descended on the deep abyss of flames, causing fiery light to shoot out in all directions, the fire pith veins roiling, yet not calming down. The human martial grandmasters tried a few times to no avail, as they could only turn to assist Yuan Zhengfeng and the others, attempting to help them break through the defensive line of the Flame Devils. The Flame Devils, led by a few Flame Devil Kings, also tightly entangled the martial saint experts of the human race, preventing them from nearing the deep abyss of flames. After carefully observing for a moment, Yen Zhaoge attempted to contact his fellow Broad Creed Mountain seniors within the battlefield. Yuan Zhengfeng discovered him at the first instant. However, Yuan Zhengfeng was currently locked in battle with his old foe, the Flame Devil King Jingzhong, unable to extricate himself from the battle. After a short while, a figure forced through the layers of flowing fire, arriving before Yen Zhaoge. It was none other than Broad Creed Mountain's lineage's East Sea First Seat Elder, the soaring cloud Lord Fu Enshu, who had previously been watching over the outer East Sea. As a woman, Fu Enshu had always been strong and fierce, but at this moment there was more of a bloody and fiery evil aura. "Why are you here too?" Fu Enshu asked. "Could it be that you were the one who destroyed the fire net earlier?" "It is indeed me," Yen Zhaoge said urgently. "Senior Apprentice Aunt Fu, can you send me to the core of this fire net?" Fu Enshu said, "The flame demons risked their lives to block the path, mainly to stop Master and the others." She appraised Yen Zhaoge. "Are you thinking of something again? I'm afraid the situation here is different from the node you destroyed before." Yen Zhaoge said, "There's a way to try. I dare not say that I'm completely confident, but it should work." After pondering for a moment, Fu Enshu made a prompt decision. "All right, I'll believe you." Saying thus, Fu Enshu formed a sword with her index and middle fingers, forming a sword seal as majestic sword light arose around her. Numerous sword lights condensed into sword talismans before transforming into a sword formation, sweeping Yen Zhaoge along as they shot into the skies, flying into the distance. Majestic and distant, the sword formation resembled a world of its own. It was precisely one of Broad Creed Mountain's 3 supreme martial arts, the limitless heavenly sword. Fu Enshu's sword traversed the air, bringing Yen Zhaoge along as she broke through the great sea, speeding towards the deep abyss of flames at the bottom of the sea. Immediately, flame devils surrounded them, obstructing the sword light. Fu Enshu ignored them all. A massive palm suddenly descended from the sky, resembling the collapse of the sky as it directly scattered the seawater down below, all the flame devils within perishing. It was precisely Yuan Zhengfeng who had made a move, clearing the path for Yen Zhaoge and Fu Enshu. Ever since their previous attempts had failed, it had always been Fu Enshu and the other martial grandmasters who had attempted to help Yuan Zhengfeng and the other martial saint experts break through. Now, the situation had suddenly reversed once more, with the flame devils being caught off guard, Yuan Zhengfeng and Fu Enshu having successfully torn open a gap. The current strategy of the Flame Devils was to firmly prevent martial saints from getting past, while martial grandmasters might be able to. Fu Enshu's sword light shot straight in, shooting towards the depths of the sea. While they were irritable and easily angered, the sudden abnormal actions of the human martial practitioners also caused the Flame Devils to feel restless and uneasy, with some Flame Devil Kings wanting to make a move to obstruct Fu Enshu. Victory or defeat will be decided here. Yuan Zhengfeng roared, attacking like the tide as he spurred the other martial saint experts along, pressuring down with the momentum of toppling mountains and overturning seas, forcing Jingzhong and the other Flame Devil Kings to only be able to deal with what was before them. However, some great Flame Devils began to turn and chase after Fu Enshu. Fu Enshu's sword light expanded, putting Yan Zhaoge down, descending into the deep abyss of flames. She herself suddenly turned, blocking with her sword as she domineeringly met the pursuing great Flame Devils. Seeing Yan Zhaoge's figure, a great Flame Devil revealed a furious expression as he lunged over. However, a dense, ethereal sword light shot over, nearly piercing through him. Sword in hand, white clothes fluttering, Fu Enshu resembled a divine pillar that stabilized the seas as she stood above the deep abyss of flames, obstructing the approaching Flame Devils. At this moment, every second counted. Yan Zhaoge couldn't be bothered to look back at the scene behind him as he shot towards the entrance of the deep abyss at full speed. Opening his shadow-shrinking pouch, 9 ice shards appeared within Yan Zhaoge's hands. Yan Zhaoge threw them out, the ice shards hovering within the seawater. Next, Yan Zhaoge punched out, his fist intent causing the ice shards to form a formation. Streams of ice-blue radiance flickered, numerous spirit patterns intersecting, coming together to form a massive formation. The 9 ice shards stood at the edges of the formation, light shining as they formed 9 white pillars of light, supporting the formation. Yan Zhaoge waved his hand. All the remaining devil-shattering ice talismans he currently had falling into the center of the formation. He punched out once more, the formation shuddering as, guarded by the 9 white pillars of light, it descended into the deep abyss of flames down below. The deep abyss shook for a moment, the light of fire intermingling, yet no other changes could be seen. Seeing this, the human martial practitioners who had originally held some anticipation inevitably revealed looks of disappointment on their faces. They could only raise their spirits, returning to their earlier plan as they did their best to assist Yuan Zhengfeng, Huang Guanglie, and the others in breaking through the defensive line of the Flame Devils. While this method was not as effective as it had been at that previous point, Yan Zhaoge's expression was not flustered in the least as he just gazed very earnestly at the deep abyss of flames down below. Within the fiery light, Yan Zhaoge vaguely saw something that was completely incompatible with its surroundings. A small crimson pagoda, to be continued,